For the Winds Productions presents A Simple Man's Brand production in conjunction with J. Hebert Studios. And now, A Simple Take with Noah Foster.
AEW Revolution provided exactly what the name implies, but also brought forth resolution, definitive conclusions, shockers, suspensions, all sorts of altercations, and more. This and so much more will be discussed tonight after this incredible supercard of a pay-per-view as we bring to you the first ever all-elite simple take regarding AEW Revolution. So, hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are watching this, whether on live or on demand. You know what this is, for I am the simple man of the simple brand, and my name is Noah Foster. And once again, welcome for the first ever all-elite simple take as we look back at AEW Revolution. My God, what an incredible pay-per-view. But that being said, before we get right into things, allow me to introduce you to, of course, my cohorts in this simple take. Whether or not this is a continued thing, we'll see. Of course, he is my color cohort in all things WWE. We are the simple take duo of the WWE. He is the reviewer. He is the renegade, JJ Williams. JJ, how are you?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you today?
I'm tired, but I'm good, especially after continuing to rewatch Revolution at least 3 or 4 times since our live watch-along event across different media. And check that out, folks. Of course, that's all across our channels. And, of course, with me during that ride was my color cohort commentary analyst in not only AEW, but Impact Wrestling, it seems now, too. We just have a great time, and he's also different. But he's also a great friend, great mind. And, of course, he is a co-creator of WYW Wrestling and WYW Productions. Very creative, very busy. James Hebert. James, how are you? We finally are just under 1 week removed from AEW Revolution, all the fallout, too. How you been, man? You're muted. Botch. Can't hear you.
I think he did it when he put his hat on, so there wasn't like the crumple, and then forgot to unmute it.
Yep. All right. So
you're brilliant.
That is how hard worked this man is.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was I saying? Right. Okay. I don't even remember the question now. What was the question?
Yeah, he's tired and we're live, folks. I was saying, how you been since we finally are removed from AEW Revolution week and the fallout too?
I've been doing good about it, man. I'm still loving that pay-per-view. Fair warning, I have not seen Dynamite, so if you spoil anything, I'm fine with it. I just haven't gotten a chance to watch it, at least this week, because, again, been kind of pressed for time on a lot of stuff. But fair. Been really, really enjoying it. That still on that high when it comes to that show. I thought it was perfect top to bottom. Probably the best pay-per-view I've seen AEW do in a while. Not that their other shows have been bad, as we've established when it comes to pay-per-views. Tony Khan don't miss. But this is definitely probably up there in the top 3. That's how good this show was. I know for me, I don't know, man. It's between this and it's between Double or Nothing in 2021. Or no, not Double or Nothing 2021. Full Gear 2021. Because there was a lot of good stuff there. But all in all, when it comes to this year, it's probably it's definitely the pay-per-view that beat Wrestle Kingdom Night 1, which I thought was going to be an impossible feat, considering how they kicked off the year.
Right.
But they did it. And it's going to take a lot to try and top that from all companies, including AEW. So good on everybody involved. By the way, your Simply Predicting logo is still up there.
We're live, pal. And also, I'm tired too. And how often do I actually do this? But anyway, Thanks for that. But yeah, again, James, we've been calling stuff since the beginning. You talk about Wrestle Kingdom 17, which was only one night. And then, of course, we had the Yokohama Arena later on. We talk about Keiji Muto's last match. We talk about Hard to Kill Impact Wrestling. We talk about WWE Elimination Chamber Royal Rumble. And we're only literally just the start of this year at the beginning of the third month. We have already what feels like pay-per-view of the year and what felt like already has been match of the year, if not the greatest match I've ever seen in my 31 years of professional wrestling. And again, we still have so much more to discuss too, but good to hear you, man. Good to know. So without further ado, gentlemen, let's get right into it. So yeah, AEW Revolution. It happened Sunday, of course, this past Sunday from the Chase Center. It was their West Coast pay-per-view debut for AEW, and I think they knocked it out of the ballpark. It already felt different when it came to the buy-in not being stacked with 3 or 4 matches. We had some subtle engagement, interaction, some thoughts from within the AEW locker room. RJ City. Renee Paquette was, of course, our main host. And then we had a little bit of a reaction, too, as we had trios action, 6-minute tag team action with them boy, Mark Briscoe, with the Lucha Brothers, Penta Ciel and Jorge Phoenix, taking on the varsity athletes and Ari DeBar with Smart Mark Sterling in their corner. The dynamic with these two teams, the fact that Ari DeBar fits so well with Tony Nese and Josh Woods, it really surprised me and how close they got to win, especially after braining their opposition with a damn clipboard. Jeez. But also, for those that don't know, the Lucha Brothers, the Briscoes, they do have history, found mutual respect. They once faced each other in tag team action back at House of Glory. I believe it was also for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. But people can fact check me on that. For this match, I knew the result. I knew what it was going to be. There was some great back and forth balance action on all sides from all competitors. They really got the chance to shine here. Nice way to bring people into what was going to be a stat pro wrestling night, the words of good old JR himself. And overall, you gotta love seeing a lawyer getting his brain tuned in on the middle of the ring. Just saying. But I enjoyed this match for what it was. And of course, we know that Mark Briscoe got the win with the Froggy Bowl in the end after the Lucha Brothers set up with the Fear Factor package pile driver. JJ, your thoughts on the buy-in?
I thought it was nice, simple, easy. You knew that they weren't going to have Mark Briscoe lose his first AEW pay-per-view match, albeit on the buy-in, with the tragic loss of his brother and everything, and just finally being able to get a Briscoe on the full-time roster. They're not going to job him out first match out. So it was predictable, but it was a nice, simple way to kick off the action to what would be an emotional roller coaster of an evening.
Understatement of the year for this show. James, what was your takes from this match? You've been very fond of the idea of Ari Daivari working with Josh Woods and Tony Nese. You think this trio is a very effective balanced package. Was that still your sentiment following this match?
You know what's funny? As much as I thought they were a balanced package, if I thought they were a balanced package prior to this entrance, boy, was that ever reaffirmed when they came out in that in the NBA style little entrance there, having Mark Sterling announce them. That was a really nice presentation that I hope we actually see more of. I actually want to see more of these guys in AEW in bigger roles just from the entrance alone. Really good stuff there. Really nice. We're always so quick to say that this is a showcase for Mark Briscoe, and don't get me wrong, it was. But it was also kind of a showcase for what varsity athletes could do as a trio, and I think they more than held their own against this trio. Did a really good job. All of them gelled nicely. Nice triple team offense. I could actually see them at some point challenging, if maybe not for the AEW 6-man titles, definitely for the Ring of Honor 6-man titles. I could see them actually being in legit contention with some proper build-up and giving them some more time. Long and short of it, really good opening match, showcased a lot. We know how good the Lucha Brothers are, but this is definitely more of a showcase for, I think, the varsity athletes than Mark Briscoe. But I enjoyed it. Simple as JJ said, and I had a good time. I had a good time, if you will.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a nice break from RJ City being weird, to be honest.
RJ City doing RJ City things.
Yeah, he is.
Hey, you.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, it's Hey You. And of course, Cindy, congratulations being a part of AEW's Instagram channel. Literally being interviewed by RG City. Go follow at Chanel for more of those antics and more on her Twitch, Instagram, and various social media platforms too. Of course, Cindy G, she was also there live along with a great friend we know and Dottie, and of course, Amy Nenemy. I hope they all had an incredible time. All right. And yeah, it was our only match during the buy-in, and then they just continue building into the show, which again, I like the idea of a pre-show that gives a little bit of an analytical perspective, but doesn't just focus on that. You draw the audience in, you give them something, to whet the palate, a little bit of in-ring action. If I wanted to watch just a straight-up talk show, I'd be watching friggin' Sports Center on ESPN. All right? And at least they
Right,
got a
but-
horn for freaking, break during discussions. But I digress.
No,
And then
I
honestly,
completely agree with you. I think there needs to
Yeah.
be an even balance because I've always kind of looked at the pre-show as the casual fan's ability to catch up if they've missed the weeks leading into the pay-per-view.
right?
So
Exactly, yeah.
it's where the commentators, the hosts, the whosoevers are telling you this person's fighting this person and here's why. So for that aspect of it, I've always kind of liked it to just be the half hour. Just give me that. Give me the highlights. Because we're all busy men. We have jobs, we have families. We can't tune in as much as we'd love to every Dynamite, every Rampage, let alone every Dark or Elevation.
Right?
And then when they go and incorporate the Ring of Honor stuff, now that that's a thing again with their weekly programs on the Honor Club, it just becomes too much. So give me that hour and then maybe throw in the middle of the hour just a little something there, like here's some guys that you would normally see on Darker Elevation, give you an opportunity to see who's on the rise, who's up and coming. We still got all this action coming up on the main card, but here's, for lack of a better term, here's the developmental people, that are still getting
Yeah.
their feet wet.
A taste.
Yeah.
Yeah, give them an opportunity to work
taste?
in front of the 15, 17, 18,000 people that are piled into the Chase Center or whatever venue they happen to be in that night.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I agree.
Because there's no better learning experience than being in front of the live crowd.
That
Right.
that I think is the key right there, JJ. What you said, I think they need, if anything, these guys could use the experience on TV, even if it's an buy-in match, or 0-hour match, whatever they're calling it nowadays.
Yeah.
I think definitely is probably the way to go. I don't know because you don't want to overload the show as well. So maybe that's why. Although I remember at one point, there was one time they also did one match, and it was during a full, I think a Full Gear show, and like the other half hour was spent showing the countdown show in its like entirety for like the first hour and a half. That could be something, because I think I don't know what happened to the countdowns, but when they were unedited and unscrewed with, and they had that hour time slot for the countdown shows, you'd be hard pressed to find a better freaking hype vehicle than the countdown shows. And I think that would have been a really good use of TV time, is to put the countdown show there. And then whatever promos you couldn't fit in the countdown show, okay, here's the promo of this match, blah, blah, blah. Now you know. That would probably be a good use of it as well. But yeah, I agree with your sentiment. I think it would be good to have this developmental talent or underneath talent kind of showcased on these shows.
Because
But
I can only speak from my experience. I don't know about you guys and your AEW experiences, but I can't tell you how empty the forum was during the dark matches that they were filming.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Yeah, it's dark. It is what it is.
It's
But
basically like you're there in the environment, but you don't have the full audience feel, but you get a little bit of that idea of, okay, how you ease into that. It's one thing to perform in front of 300, then you grow into 2,700, and then you blow up in a freaking 8,000 plus, and then you go even higher than that to close to over 20,000 in a place like the United Center. So it's one of those things where it's like, how does the wrestler handle that anxiety, that pressure? Because this is your moment. This is your time. Use it to your fullest advantage. But how effective are you during that? We talk about all the time. Why is this person not here? Why is this person not here? We faint the ready for it. Do they themselves faint the ready for it? Does the booker faint the ready for it? I think about what Kenny Omega said on Renee Paquette's sessions about the women's division. How, yes, sometimes the women, it's one of those things where he wants to see them dedicated more time to them on a TV, but also it's like, are they ready for that spot? And some of them are. Some of them are more ready than some of the men that you actually see on a weekly basis. And I completely agree with that sentiment.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, it's one of those things where there's a balance between both booker and actual employee / wrestler. And the Lucha Brothers are nobody to call developmental, but undercard,
absolutely
maybe,
not.
because as we learn later in the week, and I'll give some brief highlights regarding that, not only here, but also stay tuned, folks, for our next AEW Spark discussing the entire.
I was actually about to say, it's funny you mentioned that. If you guys want to know what actually happens on Dark or Dark Elevation and you don't have the time to watch it, check out AEW Spark on our Wrestling Fortune 44 Incorporated channel, where we go over all the shows of the week at AEW.
Cheap plug.
Yeah, I was going to say, I definitely wouldn't consider Lucha Brothers or Mark Briscoe as developmental, but possibly the Varsity Athletes. No disrespect to them. They definitely, like you said, James, they clicked and gelled as a unit. But in comparison, it's like, who's going to get the Dynamite Rampage time? Who's going to get the Dark Elevation time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who's going to get the chance?
And but being able to hang with the other three shows that they're ready to make that step up.
Every time you go out to impress. You show what you're capable of, and you see what it leads to in and out of AEW, or maybe Ring of Honor for that matter, considering Josh Woods is former Ring of Honor Pure Champion, and Mark Briscoe, just saying. But I digress. All right, well, let's go ahead and go right into the main show of this entire crazy pay-per-view, AEW Revolution, and we kick things off with a little bit of sports entertainment. As, of course, traditional in AEW, you gotta have your Judas sing-along. As our opening bout was the old show, Chris Jericho taking on Absolute Mega Stocks, looking for absolute resolution at AEW Revolution, because the Jericho Appreciation Society was banned from ringside. But also, he was not going into this at 100%, considering the punishment he suffered at the JAS hands the previous Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. But I said it once, I'll say it again. Rick Stocks needs to get away from what people are calling the Jericho Vortex. You're stuck with Jericho. You're stuck around the old show. You don't know where you're going to go from there. You don't know if you can go anywhere from there. And Ricky Starks was able to persevere and overcome, even after getting Codebreaker out of friggin' mid-spear, which I thought was a ridiculous spot. But I thought this was a nice way to set the pace for the pay-per-view. And I want to also put this in perspective. This is the fourth AEW Revolution Chris Jericho has yet to win at this pay-per-view. He is 0-4 now. And this is the second time he was involved in the opener, and he lost. Eddie Kingston got the big one last year. Rick Stotts got the absolute win this time. He has now had 2 victories over the first AEW World Champion of this company, clean as a whistle, despite the fact Sammy and Action Andretti tried to come into play, and also Floyd the baseball bat was used. Edwards can only keep up with so much. But again, subtle, nice opening. Rick Stocks is a guy that's putting a lot of stock in. It's definitely going to be a main focus this year, I feel, for AEW. I can't wait to see what happens next. So, James, your thoughts on this opening bout, now that Ricky Starks can finally put the Jericho Society behind him?
Before I do give my thoughts on it, I want to just give a shout out to King A-Train and JoJo, who are in the chat. What up, everyone?
Appreciate y'all in the chat and everything pro wrestling. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend. Let us know your thoughts, your questions, your simple takeaways from AEW Revolution as we talk about these matches. Greatly appreciate all of you. This may become a standard going forward for all the pay-per-views. Stay tuned. Maybe a different day. Tuesday, though, we have Roadblocks, so we had to call an audible. Otherwise, this probably would have been Tuesday night. But I digress. Anyway, James, continue.
I will say, as far as this match goes, I thought it was a really nice, decisive win for Ricky. I don't know where you go from there. I feel like it is weird that they went about this whole thing the way they did, because I feel like while this was a good match, it was a great opener to kick things off. I feel like there was more heat in their first match. And and I do wish that there was a little bit more shenanigans. They tried for Ricky Starks to eventually get the win, but he got the win. Now we can move on, and Ricky Starks looks like a star. And boy, is that contendership list for MJF looking meaty right now. Because you got to think, I'm sure you know the top three right now. It got to be, even though he says he quit. Kingston, Starks, Page. I mean, you're talking probably one of the best wrestlers in Hangman Page, and then you got Ricky Starks, who could really freaking talk and wrestle, and then you got Eddie Kingston, who could talk and starting to get up there, and as far as not being able to wrestle yet at this point, but that's where we're at right now, and it's looking good. It's looking good for MJF, but yeah, good win for Ricky, man, and I hope we do get a rematch with him and Max some point down the line with this, because sounds like they're kind of teased it at the scrum as well a little bit. Like you talked about, why did I take this match again with Jericho? Well, now not only did I just beat the world champion, former world champion, I just beat him twice. That puts me right up there in the rankings again, which is like, yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Logistically, that makes sense. Okay, cool. So I was like, yay. Another Ricky Starks match? Yes, please. Put that on pay-per-view. Put that on a TV special. Hell, Battle of the Belts. It's around the corner. Let's do it.
Stay tuned for that, folks, as it will be coming down, of course, in the WWE Network Multiverse of Media. After all the craziness that is WrestleMania, we can so much more to come to. JJ, Ricky Starks, you and Jeff have talked about, that's one of y'all's boys. We've seen how far this guy came from the NWA, coming in AEW, challenging Cody for the TNT Championship, how he basically still kept moving forward with confidence despite the fact he was injured, bounced back from injury, overcame Lights, Powers, Hobbs, challenged MJF for the AEW World Championship last year. Winner is coming. Been involved in this program with Jericho, but since the new era of AEW has begun, he's had Jericho's number. I feel like finally he could hang up the phone on the Jericho Appreciation Society. What was your thoughts of this match? He really dug down deep to pull this one out as we saw him grasping his ribs during most of this.
I will say, while JJ gives his thoughts, I'm just going to get a drink. Continue.
Oh, go ahead.
Absolutely. You know, Ricky Starks is one of those guys who, with each passing match, I get more and more impressed by him. And to throw out a classic name here, he reminds me a lot of Kaki Siaki, Sonny Siaki from the old TNA days. You know, he's just got that aura about him, that arrogance, even as a baby face, where he knows that he's good. He goes in the ring, he proves that he's good, and hopefully, unlike Siaki, he'll actually be able to get to the big gold and win the AEW championship. But as far as where does he go from here, I think you kind of hit the nail on your head there when you were talking about how he survived Powerhouse Hobbs.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ricky Starks needs to go after him in the TNT championship before he levels up, if you will, to the world title. I think there's still a whole lot of untapped potential in a Hobbs Starks feud. I think that's where Ricky needs to go next. And kudos on Jericho for pulling the reverse Undertaker here, 0-4 now at Revolution. Honestly, and I haven't talked to Chris in a long time to know if this is where his mindset is at, but I really think that Jericho is just kind of settled into this, I'm going to get the future over. He's that Terry Funk in ECW. I can make him.
He's got potential.
I can make him. He's going through there, and yeah, he'll get his victories on television. But when it comes to pay-per-view time, more often than not, I've been seeing Jericho take the L instead of the W.
Especially a Revolution. I think if you really think about it, he's lost
4 times. He's 0-4.
He's 0-4 this year. He also, at Revolution, he's 0-4. I think there was a stretch up until the MJF win where he was just losing every pay-per-view match. I remember he put over Eddie. I remember he put over John Moxley. Then he put over Orange Cassidy. Then he put over somebody else. I think he put over MJF in Full Gear, ironically enough. He just kept losing. He kept putting over people. I think at one point at Revolution in 2021, I think he lost there too, didn't he? Did he lose in a tag?
He lost to the Young Bucks, and he was tattled on side.
Yeah, he put over the Young Bucks. That's funny. But no, he was on a losing streak for a while, and then even though he got that one win on MJF, he ended up losing a lot afterwards. And I remember the one win I remember because the match was so fucking good. It's him and Kingston, which if nobody has watched and you're just hearing about that match ever happening, highly encourage you to go watch that match. It's one of the best openers of AEW that's happened for a pay-per-view. Definitely go out of your way to watch that. But yeah,
Revolution last year.
I think it's a nice little role for Jericho right now, just putting over the young guys, kind of being almost a grandfather in the industry, if you will.
Absolutely.
In that Terry Funk role, putting over young talent, making young talent, finding a way to just making, that work out. I think it's going to be cool, man. It's going to be a fun one.
And we talk about continuity. King definitely agrees with you, JJ, because a little spoiler alert for you folks. We all highlight this on Dark, but the TNT title right now has been written by the Book of Hobbs. And Hobbs and Starks, the hostilities began with them really with 1QT as accessory last year in the summer. We saw a favor finally paid forward. But does that mean revenge is fully settled maybe between him and the Absolute One? Only time will tell. A good discussion so far for opening match, but we do have a question here, and we'll go ahead and acknowledge it. So we will talk about this match here, but we did talk about the championships. Let's go ahead and slowly highlight this. Why at this time it was known as the AEW Atlantic Championship. Still, now we know it's called the AEW International Championship.
Wait. Are you saying that Orange Cassidy did what I recommended and united the New Pacific title from New Japan Pro Wrestling in a tournament in Rio de Janeiro? He finally did it. He's goated. He's goated.
I don't know about that.
Damn it, James.
You freaking idiot. But which belt has more value in your opinion? TNT or International Championship? Well, let's go ahead and run it down. Cody was the standard for the TNT Championship. The standard for the International now known Championship was Pac. When Cody pulled off the open challenge, it was to AEW, Ingrown Talent, or surprises. The likes of Jungle Boy, Jake Hager, Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston, Darby Allin, and of course, the late great forever exalted, Brody Lee. But then, after Cody lost the championship to one Brody Lee, got it back, and then Darby Allin took the reins. Darby Allin was a prolific champion for 9 successful defenses until the Redeemer broke him and took his last life. The Redeemer then lost to Sammy, and then it became the hot potato of the company. The AEW Atlantic Force International Championship, though, has only had 2 champions since its inauguration. The original was the Bastard Pac, who, of course, defended it internationally, of all things, in Europe, in Italy, in, I think, Germany. And then, of course, he and Orange Cassidy settled their score in a story of 3 matches, where Orange Cassidy became the freshly squeezed AEW International Champion. He took on all comers every week, nonstop, including the likes of Katsura Shibata outside the company, and of course, Matt Taven, who is also outside the company, but is in Ring of Honor. While the AEW International Champion has only had 2 champions, the TNT Championship has hot potatoes so many times, there's been 15 of them, even though it's only been around since literally 2020. Why the AEW Atlantic International Championship is not even a year old and has only had 2 champions, and their second champion has already won over 10 defenses with it. So which belt has more value? Does the belt have more value based on the people that held it, or based on the way it's been presented, how many people have actually held it in its lifespan, and the caliber of competition? I feel there's been a lot more story with the TNT Championship, but as far as the National Championship, that's the workhorse one right now, in my opinion. Yes. So based on that, I got to give it to the International. And it's already been held by 2 people.
For me, okay, so that's the thing, though. I don't think they can be compared.
Yeah,
because
that's what I was going to say.
it's
There's
like
a different value
apples to
perspective
oranges,
with each.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even then, this is the way I see the TNT title. And by the way, if you think after Jay Cargill loses that belt, then the same thing isn't going to happen to the TBS title, oh boy, are you mistaken? And I'll explain why. Because it's not even a bad thing. I think a lot of people see that the TNT title being hot potatoed, it's a bad thing. How bad is it really? Because at the end of the day, it's a television championship. If you enact the open challenge rule, it's by proxy one of, if not the, in kayfabe, hardest titles to defend. I think if you put it in that context, right, the TNT title is more valuable because the TNT title is so much harder to defend and keep for a longer period of time. In fact, the only two people that actually ended up pulling that off successfully were the first two. It was Darby and Cody, and nobody's touched their reign since.
Correct.
And even during Cody's two reigns, that was hot potatoed, and that happened with Brody Lee in one of the best freaking angles they ever did for the company. So again, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think that they want to use the term hot potato, but if you have a television or network style championship, you typically want to do that type of style, especially if every other championship has like, okay, well, the world champion barely changes hands. International title more than likely is barely going to change hands.
And
Tag
on American soil.
Tag team titles, with the exception of rare occasions, probably going to stay on a team for a long period of time. Same with the women's championship. The television titles, absolutely, and this will happen to the TBS title too when Jade loses it or Statlander loses it eventually. You know, you want the TNT and TBS titles to be hot potatoed only in that, and it's not a bad thing. So you could get people over with them because you can do that with them, especially if you put the right talent in that position. You know, Will Hobbs, perfect example. Wardlow at one point, a great example. Scorpio Sky, what a freaking moment for him when he won the TNT title. You know, freaking Sammy Guevara.
Darby Allin.
The best ladder match on a Dynamite TV, singles wise. You know, Darby Allin. And, you know, Samoa Joe. What a hell of a reign. King of television for like, I don't know, 2 months. That was fun. You know, so it's a good belt to pass around because you're using that semi as a prop, but also semi as, okay, who the heck is going to be TV champion next? Can he pull this off? Is tonight going to be the night he loses the title? And that way, when a person comes along, gets the TNT title, and then holds it for a long period of time, that's going to mean something even more. So I say right now, just by proxy, TNT title, if we're going to compare the two, TNT title, just because there's so many people that have held it, and we're talking about some of the who's who of pro wrestling over the last 5 to 10 years, and it's got a lot of lineage, and it's only been around since 2020.
The variety, the history, the opportunity versus the very few in name of longevity when it comes to the international championship. Again, it's a fair take. I mean, each one in retrospective does have their own value, but the TNT title, yeah, it does have a longer history. Shoot, I saw that ladder match live. And as far as TNT championship, you figure about the roster being so in depth, JJ, the TNT title does allow opportunity for many people on this roster that even if they don't win the title, they could probably show what they're capable of. I mean, Jake Hager, almost said Jack Swagger, excuse me. He had a chance at the TNT championship and a chance at the international championship. So if nothing else, both these titles have definitely had their amount of competitors, but as far as the champions and the value that they have put themselves in holding one of these two titles, I feel that's where you really draw the comparisons, but I think James did bring a fair take when it comes to the TNT title and the history it has brought with the people that have not only fought for it, but have held it. So what's your take on this question before we move back into our regular programming?
I co-sign with James 100%. If the International All-Atlantic Championship, whatever, had been around the same amount of time as the TNT Championship, it would be easier to compare and contrast.
Fair.
And to James's point, you know, a lot of times, yeah, we scoff at companies for hot potatoing a championship. But if the storyline makes sense to do it, then you can't really knock it.
Yep.
The only hot
Booker
potatoing,
T. Benoit, for example.
the only hot potatoing that I can think of as far as this belt goes that I'm not in favor of is the one we'll get to later on this evening. What was the point in Joe losing to Wardlow just for Wardlow to lose it to Hobbs? Hobbs could have just beaten Joe on Dynamite.
In a 2-day span, the belt changed hands twice.
And the belt, the win for Hobbs would have meant more because he's beating Samoa fucking Joe.
Right.
Mr. TV champion.
You're king of television, James.
Yeah. It means more for Hobbs to beat Joe than it does to beat Wardlow.
I think the idea is, I think I know why they did it the way they did it, to be fair. The reason why is because they wanted to keep Wardlow looking strong in that match because they had that out with QT and the history there. And that way it could go and he could take care of that little quick side quest. And then they could do a little bit of a semi-program with him in the main event. I think they're trying to move him up to a program with MJF eventually, which is, I think, the direction they're going. I think it's naturally about that time he moves on from the TNT title picture and goes into, you know, the world championship picture somehow, some way. But that's why I think they do.
You don't think him only being champion for 3 days weakens him, though?
The shortest reign ever for the TNT champion, might I add, considering his first reign was 164 days.
You know, he has this long-standing feud with Joe, fights and scratches and claws to get it back, and he loses it in 3 days. If he had lost it to Hobbs at Battle of the Belts, okay.
Yeah.
I think, here's another thing, and I don't know if they mentioned this. Did they mention that his car was broken into, which everybody thought was a shoot before QT made his tweet?
Yes.
Did anybody see that? JJ, did you see that on social media?
I heard about it, but I don't know if they addressed it on the air because, like you, I haven't seen Dynamite yet either.
Right, okay. So, did they address it, Noah?
Oh, yes, they did. And Wardlow had some gear courtesy of a couple of guys that we'll talk about later, not to go too far into spoiler territory.
In the interest of fairness, even if you're as big as Wardlow, right? Even if you're as tough as Wardlow, when he's on his game, he's on. But I would imagine if you got Jericho'd by QT Marshall and had all your shit stolen, that'd probably throw you off your fucking game a little bit.
I mean, if nothing else,
just a smidge. If all your belongings were kind of fucking stolen.
And nothing else probably pissed you off a little bit more. But that being said, good stuff. And EPW appreciates our discussion. EPW, we thank you. Again, folks, you got questions regarding anything regarding all the wrestling on this pay-per-view?
Hold on.
Let us know.
Wait, JJ wasn't even finished, bro.
I know.
Well, I was pretty much done. I was going to just make a suggestion, though.
Please.
I don't know if it'll throw you off of your game the way you have things orchestrated, but I think this is a perfect way to just transition into the TNT title match from the show.
I usually let the chat dictate kind of how the Simple Take goes if they get involved. Otherwise, I will just go down the card. But I feel what a perfect subject considering we're literally talking about this. So, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this match real quick because it was a 10-minute bout for the TNT Championship. And, of course, TNT Championship matches have a 20-minute time limit. As the King of Television, Samoa Joe, defended the TNT Gold against Wardlow. And all I'm going to say is this, considering, Jada, you brought up, you can kick this off. Who would have thought, in all the ways possible that I could have saw this end, it ended with Wardlow getting the win, putting Samoa Joe to sleep in his own damn hole. The first, might I add, I believe, submissions victory also for Wardlow in his AEW career. JJ, your thoughts on this match alone? I mean, considering what they followed, and considering again, like, okay, we kind of thought we knew what the result was going to be, but Wardlow showed us something that I didn't expect. So that just goes to show Wardlow not only progressed the story, he's progressing himself in the ring. And you need to do both these things if you're going to keep up in this industry. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. You know, honestly, it didn't surprise me too terribly much because we've seen it time and time again in storied rivalries where after the first confrontation, you'll start to see wrestler A use wrestler B's move and wrestler B use wrestler A move. You know, you think about Rock and Austin, Rocky using the stunner, Austin using the rock bottom. You know, you think about freaking just recently, Sammy going for the spear on Roman. You know, it's something we've seen time and again in long term feud storytelling.
Ding.
So for Wardlow to break out the coquina clutch onto Joe, while yeah, it shows, you know, he's getting a little bit more versed in submission style wrestling, adding a few new things to the arsenal. Was it truly a surprise considering how long this rivalry, this feud has gone? I mean, we went from War to Joe to Joe taking the title from Wardlow
And his hair.
to Joe. Yeah, I was going to say to Joe cutting his hair to this.
Yeah.
It really didn't surprise me at all, Noah.
The only thing that I wish they did, even though they did it on TV for a while, I wish they did a little refresher package for the match, explaining why him cutting his hair was so significant, because I really liked the story element they told there. That was
they
really
did on
cool.
Countdown and the sit down with JR, but I do understand what you're saying, bringing that forward on television, particularly when you had on Rampage and Dynamite at times sub promos by Samoa Joe. So
Yes.
I do understand what you're saying.
It just would have thrown Noah's whole no superstar video packages out of the window if they go and do this whole package leading into that fight.
Well,
Yeah,
it's different.
but
It's different when you're doing a video package after you say what the match is. It's another thing doing 3-minute video things after a previous match, not necessarily knowing what's next. And that's really where things get really confusing, muddled, and make things go longer unnecessarily.
Yeah,
That's
a great point, honestly.
But
Anyway.
yeah, I mean, I think if Wardlow had done a muscle buster, maybe it wouldn't have surprised you as much as him pulling out the coquina clutch.
Exactly.
Because Wardlow's a power guy.
Exactly.
So for him to go for the muscle buster on Joe, people would expect that. But I think that's where the curveball comes in.
Yeah.
Because they would have expected the muscle buster. No one would have thought for the coquina clutch.
I was saying
for him to pass out Joe, for him to knock him out with the coquina clutch. No less.
And the way he knocked him out too, you know how we always see that spot, the ref grabs the arm and hand, it goes down for 1, it goes down for 2. When was the last time we actually saw literally the full 3 be the decision? Yeah. That was a nice touch as well. I was expecting Joe to fight back furiously. I honestly would have thought after that moment it was going to go into no disqualification or a draw.
Yeah, seriously, it was great. It was phenomenal. I thought, even though it was a buffer mostly for the match we will get to later,
right?
It was still a really good showcase for Wardlow. Very good showcase for Joe, even though Joe does Joe actually need a showcase? I think not.
I mean,
but good match and a really strong put over for Wardlow. Even though he did lose, at least they made sense. Like, I forgive him losing the belt only because if he'd have just lost it because QT distracted him, and that was just all he did, like, oh, music video plays and shit, you know, and didn't have the backstory of his car and his belongings being broken into and making that look like a shoot, And then
Right.
QT came out and said, I wonder who stole Wardlow's stuff.
Stay tuned for the first episode, QTV.
Yeah, exactly.
GTV.
Ding.
Yeah, there you go. That's where they got that shit from.
Of course,
fair enough.
you're kidding me, dude. QTV. I knew that was QT Marshall from the get-go as soon as I saw the graphic.
Yeah, fair enough. So,
And with Dustin working with the company, come on, a total GTV knockoff.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say,
There'll be quality though. Anyway,
yeah, it
continue,
would be
Chase.
quality. It was very fun, and it was a really good put over of Wardlow. I think he looked like $1 million here, and I think if you need a definitive reason for Wardlow to go for the World Championship, I made Samoa Joe pass out is a pretty good fucking way to get yourself a championship match. I don't know, man. I'm just saying.
Either in
Okay.
AEW or Ring of Honor for that matter. But yeah, and again, he ate everything Samoa Joe had, including Samoa Joe using his own rebound lariat against him. What's up, JJ?
I wanted to piggyback on one thing James said. You know, you mentioned, do we really need a showcase for Samoa Joe? And the obvious answer to us is no, because we've seen what the fuck Joe can do across all companies. But I will piggyback on that and say, if your only exposure to Joe is his WWE run, then you abso-fucking-lutely need a showcase for Joe. Because for as little as I watched during that time, I know they did him dirty over there.
You're damn right they did after the black and gold NXT. And even going back down to the black and gold NXT, it was like, come on, man. Anyway.
They weren't going to turn him to his full potential and have him be AJ Styles level.
No.
Yeah.
They were going to hold
face
him
AJ
back.
Styles for the title. Twice.
And the thing about that is, and I'm glad you brought that up, because when Joe came to AEW and he turned heel and he won that TNT title with the ROH television title, man, he came into AEW, said he was there to win as much gold as he possibly can, and delivered on that promise, and was the Joe of old. Promo-wise, ability-wise, they let him do what he wanted to do. And hell, they even, during his run, had him commentate a freaking ladder match, which, by the way, I think he did a hell of a fucking job, by the way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, and in short, basically, Joe did everything he said he wanted to do, and WWE was never going to let him be that successful. No. AEW did, and this is why AEW is great for the industry, because of shit like that. So,
you look at what the WWE has done, and I'm not trying to body shame here, so please forgive me in advance.
Yeah.
But you guys look at what WWE has done to oversized Samoans in the past, and you look at what they've done with fit Samoans. They weren't going to have Joe be Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, or even Solo Sikoa.
No.
They were going to have Samoa Joe be Rikishi.
Yep. He did it for The Rock.
And to even let that flash before my brain and my closed eyes makes me want to beat the shit out of WWE Creative at that time.
Well, again, we're talking about multiple time TNA World Heavyweight Champion, the guy that wrote the record books for all the championships in Ring of Honor, like one of the most effective, dominant big men ever.
Like, you've got some money feuds in that company, and again, I wasn't watching then, so I don't know if they really even tapped into this stuff. But you had Joe Styles, you had Joe Rollins, you had Joe Daniels, Daniel Bryan. You had all this stuff with that ROH feel to it that they could have tapped into. And they didn't even attempt to.
Most of his time, he was a commentator.
Joe and Owens, Joe and Zayn.
Yep. Most of the time, he was a commentator, JJ, and why it was the most engaging, enthusiastic commentary Monday Night Raw has had since probably Corey Graves and freaking ball guys in the MMA.
And they released him for it, by the way.
Yeah, because he was too good. He was succeeding when they didn't want him to. They wanted him to go out there and choke so they could get rid of him easier. And he freaking thrived.
Yeah.
Turn chicken bleep into chicken salad, as good old JM would say. But I digress. All right. Well, let's go ahead and keep moving forward to this card. And you talk about money. We talk about, letting people thrive. Well, finally, we might see somebody thrive that he finally is moving away from his past. And I love the fact, JJ, you gave the emotional take on this that really capitalized a conclusion to this rivalry in more ways than one. As Jungle Boy Jack Perry faced Christian Cage in what was not no holds barred, but known, how fitting even more so, the final burial. And you don't get more buried than a coffin that plummets underneath the earth, theoretically, on the stage. This was an interesting take on not only something that is near to dear to Jungle Boy's past, you informed me of, JJ, but also to really remove him from Christian Cage. We talk about definitive ending. Christian Cage went 6 feet under.
Absolutely. For those that didn't see the watch along and who aren't aware, much like Noah wasn't when I brought this up on the commentary, throw the graphic back up for me, Noah. That way it's got the date.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. I put the dates on the freaking tombstone when he freaking went plummeting. Boop.
Okay, so
Sunday,
Saturday, March 4th, the day before this match, was the 4th anniversary of Jack Perry's father, Luke Perry's passing.
Yeah.
So you've already got that emotional turmoil going through Jack's head. You've got his family there at ringside. And then you've got the final burial of the man who, for all intents and purposes, was a father figure to Jack with Luchasaurus, the Jurassic Express during that whole run. So you've got the anniversary of his biological father's death, the day before he buries his father figure in pro wrestling. You can't get much more storytelling, poetic justice than that right there, for real.
Yeah, it was
none.
And by the way,
you could see it on Jack's face.
Yeah.
Yes.
When he was ready to close the coffin.
He was holding his
how hand. Emotional he was. You could see the tears welling up in his eyes. You could see him kiss Christian's cheek. Almost like a farewell, not just to Christian, but a final farewell to his father, because we don't know where Jack was when Luke passed. Was he by his bedside? Was he there? Was he able to have a final farewell with his father?
Was he with his mother and with his sister, who were there also at ringside with tears in their eyes regarding this match? And they have been along this entire emotional roller coaster since Christian Cage came in at Double or Nothing 2021 in that Casino Battle Royale. I said it on the freaking call. R.I.P. Christian Cage. Double or Nothing 2021 to Revolution 2023. R.I.P.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because is this the swan song for Christian now? Because does he need to do anything else? This is probably the best work he's done in his career in years.
I would say since his TNA run.
Yeah,
exactly.
Seriously,
he brought back Instant Classic.
The only way I could see them even bringing him back is if because he got buried, right? But I doubt that he actually got buried. They could probably bring him back, but seriously, the only way I could see him, being brought back is Jericho Appreciation Society, because of the history with Jericho.
This isn't Marvel. This isn't DC. He's Christian fucking Cage, not Mark Calloway. No resurrections.
No. Listen, the only reason why I say Jericho
on the real, because think about it. If his debut was Double or Nothing 2021, he's close to potentially contract expiration.
Because he was.
We don't know how long he signed for. Probably just a couple-year deal.
Right.
See how things went.
Right.
Let his contract run out. Maybe let him pop over in WWE next year for an appearance in the Rumble, go in the Hall of Fame next year.
There you go with Edge.
Maybe.
Get one last ENC before Edge call quits too, because we talk about Edge and how he might
That
be
might
done
be
within
why. That might
the
be
next
why.
year.
Yeah.
And
I
also,
can see that.
you talk about Revolution signing. Christian Cage signed on the dotted line
At
Revolution 2021. So he literally has been there now officially for 2 years.
Yeah. Maybe that's why. Maybe this is his swan song. Although, again, who knows?
To say the least. Good grief.
And what better way to go out again? Christian doesn't need to beat these young guys. But what does that do for Jack's career defeating former NWA champion, WWE World Heavyweight Champion? Yes, we'll even count his ECW title reign. Intercontinental, light heavyweight champion, multi-time tag champion.
Tag team specialist.
European champion.
Yep.
Champion of Europe.
Hey, maybe he could go after the international championship.
No.
Yeah,
Just
I got.
I love me some Christian. There was a while there where I was more Christian than Edge. I love me some Christian, but his time has come.
Yeah.
In the words of a 16-time champion, his time is up. Jack's time is now.
And he made that clear during the post-show fallout.
I will say a couple things. I think we'd be remiss to not talk about, while the story was great for the ending, match kicked all kinds of ass.
Yeah, it did.
Holy shit, it was great. It was so good.
It was another emotional roller coaster of a match, especially once I had that revelation mid-match, because when the match started, it didn't dawn on me. I had to Google it while the match was happening, because I had remembered seeing in my Facebook memories the post I had put up when Luke passed. And I had remembered seeing it in the last couple days. So I just wanted to see how close we were. And to see the date was the day before that match.
Yes.
Just put everything that I had already seen and everything else that came in that match into a complete different visual. And I'm sure if you guys rewatch the match, knowing that information now, it puts it in a whole other way of perception as well. It's almost like watching a match with 3D glasses as opposed to without 3D glasses.
Without the stupid CGI graphics on your screen.
Yeah, exactly. I enjoyed this match. I think this would be the perfect fit for Christian to exit AEW. I think there's nothing left for him to prove. He had a freaking great match with Kenny Omega, and he had a great program feud with Jungle Boy. And got him over in the process. What more does he have left to prove, man? Seriously.
For me, this was probably number 2 match of the night for me.
Nice. And it started with a concerto. It ended with a concerto. He finally pulled the trigger.
Yes.
That was the other thing. Like you said, James, putting him in over. Christian Cage tirade him. You don't have any grit. You don't have an ounce what I have. You don't have the killer instinct. You are not a finisher. Jungle Boy Jack Perry proved all that and more, closing the casket door on Christian Cage after delivering a concerto.
I also think that it was just, it's a story perk ending, man. He doesn't need anything else. However, if it were to bring him back, there is one way to do it. The reason I brought up JAS helping him is because, yes, it doesn't make sense for him to be resurrected unless sports entertainment makes it happen.
God damn it, James.
That's the only thing. I'm just putting it out there. You want to know what makes Daddy Magic's nipples hard?
As long as they don't give him a purple bucket hat.
Being resurrected. At last, he's on with us.
He likes his hat.
As long as they don't give him a purple bucket hat, I will be good.
I agree. God help us. Stupid
Oh my
hat.
god.
Oh,
Christian and
Lord.
Jake Hager wearing semi-purple bucket hats. Oh no, now I kind of want it.
The
No.
Sherman,
You would,
the
James.
Sherman Williams paint scale does not need 2 shades of purple in the European society on 2 people's heads. All right?
Hey, listen. All I'm saying is there's at least that history with Jericho and Christian, former world tag team champions. We just got to put
True.
that out there, you know.
All right.
So there is that, you know, little aftermath of what was Team Un-Americans.
Oh,
And-
God.
And Jake Hager, Jack Swagger, and Christian were both WWECW champions.
Yes, they were. Not at the same time. I don't think they even rivaled with each other, actually.
I don't think they did either.
I was about to say, I don't think they even rivaled each other during that time, which is weird also in its own right. 2000s, man, was a weird time. But hey, now Jungle Boy Jack Perry can finally move forward, can finally have peace, I feel like, and resolve it himself. He can carry on. What didn't carry on, though, was our current AEW Trios champions and what was a hell of a 6-person banger as the Elite defended the Trios Gold for the first time ever against the House of Black.
They did not carry on the Wayward Son. There was no peace when they were done.
Got fucked. Sure. Kenny Omega was a sacrificial lamb for most of this match, and after they hit Dante's Inferno out of him, I thought they had it. But kudos to the Young Bucks mounting a comeback. At one point, super kick partying all 3 at once. The big man Brody King, who in my opinion, besides Buddy Matthews, was definitely second MVP. Honor mentioned Julia Hart taking a V trigger. Damn, that which is tough. Just bail, if you will. But this match kicked all sorts of ass. I just need to see Kenny Omega versus Buddy Matthews and Kenny Omega versus Malachi Black one-on-one after this. You could have literally flipped a coin with how close this match was and what it came down to. In the end, after preventing, I believe it was a Indie Taker with a friggin' rising V-trigger interception by Buddy Matthews to Nick Jackson. Jesus Christ. Matt Jackson got planted with the freaking Dante's Inferno, I believe. And the House of Black succeeded after what was a truly insane 6-man war, which is what I expected. But it was a clash of styles because we all know the Elite, they're flashy. They're showcase men. They're flyers. The House of Black are not that. They're heavy-hitting, violent, grounded strikers. And good Lord, that Dutch Muay Thai background of Malachi Black paid dividends in more ways than one, to say the least. The cohesion, the chemistry, the communication, the synergy shown on both sides was practically flawless every time. It only took one opportunity for the Elite to get caught. And that was it. Game over. And the House of Black defeated the Elite. And what I thought, again, I thought it was rushed. I really was hoping they were going to span this out, give me a single and a tax program, and then build this match out to Double or Nothing. Now, the name implies maybe that still could be the case, especially after what we saw, the Elite defeated and devastated. But somehow, Don Callis is the guy taking the blame here. And now the Invisible Hand apparently might have another plan, because, spoiler alert, next week, Wednesday, on AEW Dynamite, in the home of Chris Jericho, Don Callis, and Kenny Omega, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, it is Triple Threat Trios title turmoil. The Jericho Appreciation Society versus the Elite versus the House of Black for the gold. So place your bets.
Which version?
From the Jericho Appreciation Society?
Yeah.
I would
Sammy
guess.
Guevara and Daniel Garcia.
And Jericho?
Yep.
That was going to be my guess.
Oh, man. All right.
That's a pretty sick combination.
Good
as far
God.
as this match, I'm going to make my statement quick, brief, to the point, because it's well documented. I'm not the biggest Elite fan.
I know.
I do like House of Black, but for me, what it came down to was 2 very simple statements. I made them at the end of the match. The House always wins. Always bet on Black.
Simple as
the
that.
only thing that would have made it better is, like you said, is if it had been Double or Nothing in Las Vegas.
And I hope it still is. I hope that this freaking Canadian triple threat of all sorts of affairs is just a filler, because I still feel like the story with the House of Black and the Elite is far from over. But I couldn't be happy to see the House of Black as the new Trios champions. They absolutely deserve it and earned it. Get your thoughts on this. This was crazy.
I agree. I thought this match fucking ruled, man. Dude, there was... again, there was not a bad match on this card to me. Like, it was just so good. But this especially really showcased that for me. Like, the trios division, it was rocky start because of everything that happened with Brawl Out, but once we got past all that, man, has there never been a better argument to have trios matches than this match, man? Because this absolutely ruled. Loved it. I thought the V-trigger knee strike that Buddy pulled off was one of the most insane things I have ever seen. That was so based. Absolutely brilliant, man. Brilliant shit all around. Really good stuff by both trios, and I hope we see more down the road with them. I hope we get a rematch of sorts at AEW Double or Nothing where they win yet again definitively. Or maybe they even fight somebody different entirely. Who the hell knows? But House of Black winning the championships, it looking good with them at the helm. That's all I'm going to say there. As far as this division goes, I have a question, a little sub-tangent for everybody here. Am I the only one that believes that trios matches should just operate under different freaking rules entirely as far as tag matches go? Because I think they need to differentiate it in this regard, just so that way it's easier to just keep track of at this point. Well, and also, it would make it feel unique and different. Should we operate this?
Rules. It was almost lucha rules.
That's what I'm saying.
Who was legal at the time.
That's what I'm saying. Should we just operate it under lucha rules, where two men that are legal that are in the ring, they are the legal participants at the current moment? So you could do tags, but you could also just slide into the ring and then you're legal. I think that would be way better. I think that would make it freaking more interesting because, okay, this is a different element to what a standard tag match would be.
It's a thought. What's your thoughts on that, JJ? When you think about, whole tag team dynamic, grab the tag rope, you get the tag, but under trios affairs, maybe lucha rules is the way to go when you just have the two men in the ring at the same moment, because you saw the match yourself. There was breakdown countless times. Men were throwing each other with a barricade outside of the ring. There was an isolation at one point. Kenny Omega facing the House of Black 3-on-1. Didn't even know where he was. And then the Elite bounced back, and it was 3-on-1 on Malachi Black.
Which, by the way, do not get us twisted. That's what makes the trios division fun. It's just established that it's lucha rules, so that way that actually makes sense to do.
So my only question and concern with that is, okay, let's take this match for an example. Let's say that Nick is beaten up on Malachi in the ring, and Matt just slides into the ring. Does the ref then try to focus on getting the other Jackson out of the ring? Are both of them allowed to be in there at the same time? Does he try to get the one that just slid in the ring back out? Like, there still arises that aura of chaos and confusion.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my only concern.
Well, yeah, but that's my thing, though. That's my thing. It's already chaos and confusion usually when it comes to trios matches, which is what makes it fun anyway.
But there has to be some element there that tries to resume order. Does the ref try to get out the member that's already in the ring and allow the new one to be the new legal man?
Right. Do they got like a 10 count or a 5 count? I
mean, to make a decision, you figure a rope break or whatever is 5, so they have a 5 count where one of them has to decide who stays in, who gets out. There still has to be some aura of order in order for the ref to not lose their shit or have 2 refs per trios match.
And they did have order in the end, because we did saw who was legal, and at the end of the day, the legal man was pinned by the opposite legal man. The House of Black won fair and square.
Fair enough. I didn't even think about that.
It still is a good thought for debate, because I'm sure AAA, they do things different down there in Mexico, and I feel like they probably have had a similar situation. So I'm very, very curious how they're going to handle 3 trios teams next week for the championship.
It's just a casual fan's perspective, because I'm still not used to the whole trios gimmick.
Right. Well, I mean, if you watch Ring of Honor, you saw their 6-man tag team division. Even that wasn't nearly as bonkers is what AEW has created.
It's definitely straight out of PWG. I mean, that's exactly where they got that shit from. I mean,
No kidding. No shit. Girl, you
Well, I
kidding me?
mean, it makes perfect sense considering the Jacksons were owners at one point. So
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
Wasn't PWG? Didn't they always do 6-man tournaments? It was called the Battle of Los Angeles or whatever.
Bola was basically a King of the Ring style
God.
tournament,
Yeah. And they just did theirs.
where the
didn't you?
winner of the tournament would then get a title shot.
Gotcha. Okay. My bad.
No,
I
you're
just
good,
didn't
man.
know.
You learn.
I thought it was for the. I thought it was for that, but yeah, there you go.
Well, the more you know. Well, anyway, congratulations to the House of Black, who beat the Elite. Again, the House always wins.
Yes.
And I'm so damn happy they did. I wasn't mind. Then this was the only one I got wrong during my predictions, too. I don't mind being wrong. All right.
I think that's one of the few I actually got right.
Damn it.
I did horrible on this one.
You didn't do horrible at this match, though, did you?
Actually, yeah.
JJ!
New champion.
JJ! How dare you bet against the hater? Hater's going to hate, I'm going to appreciate because I'm a hater for life. As Jamie Hater defended the AEW Women's World Championship against Saraya and Ruby Soho in triple threat action. And it was nice to see the women get a good showcase of time here, despite falling the trios title match at different trios of different form. Immediately they went to the outside. At one point, it did come down to a fight of two for a moment when Ruby Soho got her friggin' jaw jacked on the damn barricade. And then you had Saraya and Jamie Hayter. I really was impressed with how much Saraya actually put herself through. And also what she showed here during this match, too, especially taking the Haterade impromptu when it was set up for Ruby Soho. In the end, Jamie Hayter didn't need the Haterade for the win. She got the win via a roll-up on Ruby Soho as we expected, despite the fact outside parties got involved, Tony Storm, and, of course, Dynamite Breaker DMD. But the bigger story that we were talking about here was Ruby Soho going to define her side. And
boy, did she. Yeah, the destination has become known. Ruby's joined the baddies. I don't know.
They're called the Outcasts.
Oh,
so this was my logic. So this was my logic on this match, Noah. And I know you look at me in shame for not backing your hater. But I am the other type of hater for hater. I'm not a huge fan of hers yet.
Oh.
I figured that they've put so much into this comeback story for Saraya. Saraya was going to pin Ruby to become champion, thereby not making Jamie look weak, and set up a follow-up program with Hayter versus Saraya.
I still feel like Hayter versus Saraya could happen at Double Never Battle of the Belts, but as if you don't look at anything on Dynamite, just look at Ruby Soho's promo. She told you straight up what she thinks about all of us and her reflection of the reception since she's come into AEW. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Again, stay tuned for more on AEW Spark. But for me, Jamie Hayter's been one of the more dominant, prolific, and I feel homegrown champions this company has made and deserves to hold the gold. For me, this had to come down to her versus Saraya being saved later because Ruby Soho, Jamie Hayter, that could be something that I thought was going to organically develop with the underlying story of the Outsiders. Botch. Now known as the Outcasts. You know what I mean. There you go. Taking on the AEW homegrown, the originals. Okay. So for me, it did not surprise me one bit that Jamie Hayter, and might I add, second defense, successfully retained the AEW World Championship. And it was her first pay-per-view match as well, coming in as champion. Jamie Hayter has become the face of the women's division that the AEW fan base has organically grown behind, despite the fact that Underbreaker DMD was the first signed, and is apparently a babyface here too. But now we're going to see if this duo can find something to even the numbers, because right now it's 3 against 2. James, what was your thoughts on this match and the Ruby Soho post angle?
I thought it ruled. I thought they actually had a really hell of a wrestling match. I thought the triple threat element, I thought really helped Saraya get over. Like, hey, this is legit. I'm not taking soft bumps no more. I'm here to stay, motherfucker. because she took a lot of crazy strikes, dude. I was shocked at how many strikes she was taking, but it really showed that she was back, and she's really in this for the long haul. I thought Jamie Hayter looked really good here. Just the striking game was on point. And Ruby has probably looked the best I've seen since Grand Slam, to be honest, from a couple of years prior. So really good stuff all around. I enjoyed it.
Yep. That was her first chance also at the AEW Women's World Championship. She hasn't had a chance since besides Revolution. And SCW literally has reading my mind. I think we could probably agree to a degree. After what we saw in that crazy street fight with Willow and Ruby Soho, Willow's another one, against Anna Jay and Ty Mello. Again, Anna Jay still injured. Get well soon. She does a fair take because she was the one watching this all from the outside. But according to what I've heard, she's injured. And right now she is in Japan for the meantime. But it's still not a bad fun, SCW. Go ahead, JJ. It looks like you have a flash.
This might be the craziest hot take in the history of hot takes.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Jamie Hayter, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD,
Don't forget it.
and Thunder Rosa.
That's
that's definitely happening. That's not a hot take. I've been saying that.
Fair.
I've been saying that's been the build up. I've been saying they're going to do that first, right? And they're going to lose because of a miscue between Thunder and Britt, which then leads to a match, which then leads to a beatdown from the heels on both of them. And I think from there, they're going to set up a women's blood and guts. That's where I think we're going with this. I think the women's blood and guts that would come up after Double or Nothing, so it all works out well.
Right.
I think is going to be the babyface team of Jamie Hayter, Dr. Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, Willow Nightingale, and who was the other one I've been recommending that they do?
I think you said Sheeta if she's clear.
Yeah, Hikaru Shida, because that's how this whole thing started with, was fucking Shida, versus Ruby Soho, Toni Storm, Saraya, along with the Jericho Appreciation Society's Tay Conti and Anna Jay.
Talk about turning the page on two AEW true originals, but again, being sports entertainers, that does seem like a sports.
It all makes sense.
It does. I'm not going to deny it.
I'm surprised you didn't throw my girl Jade in there.
Nah, Jade. The problem is if you throw Jade in the mix with that, I agree, but then it doesn't make a lot of sense because you gotta keep in mind there is history there between Willow Nightingale, Ruby Soho with Jericho Appreciation Society girls, even though Ruby and Willow would be on the opposite team anyway.
Right.
The whole thing started with the Outcasts because of Hikaru Shida, and then you think of Dr. Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa's rivalry and all that stuff. Like, there's elements that make sense. I don't think it really makes sense to kind of shoehorn Jade in there. There's not a lot of story there. You know what I mean? There's a lot more long-term story with everybody that I mentioned if you include Willow Nightingale as opposed to Jade Cargill. So, because then everything kind of ties together for the blood and guts thing.
Plus, Jade Cargill would kind of be like a moose dynamic with the TNA Impact Wrestling homegrown, like they did with Hard to Kill in 2021 against the Elite that were invading from AEW. Yeah, he might be there for the company, but as soon as that post-bell rings, win or lose, I don't give a damn about you. I'm still kicking your ass. Jade Cargill is a eagle above the rest. And whether or not that bitch can coexist with the AEW originals, I feel is a whole different level of a test. That's why I feel that James is on point here, that she stays out of the way and focuses on still being the undefeated force of the AEW women's division.
I was trying to figure out a way to get both champs in the match, whether it's on the same side or if Jade aligns herself with the heels.
I think Jade would be better being on the undercard of the Blood and Guts event itself by fighting somebody that actually has some name value there. I think they need to start doing that probably way sooner than Blood and Guts to be, if we're going to be
She
perfectly
needs
honest.
Well, we'll see what happens on Dynamite with her open challenge.
In Canada, I would say Jody Fred, but I'm like, wait, she's not AEW. And I mean, she had a killer match with Athena where Athena showed her other side. And why Athena would be a good fit, I think it's safe to say after what we saw in the New Era of Honor, incredible stuff, by the way, of her and Willow, she's going to focus being the unstoppable force of the Ring of Honor women's division. That's all I got to say about that.
Although, to be fair, Athena would not be a bad shot for the
not at all.
To be perfectly fucking honest. I agree with that. If they cannot do Tay Conti, then you need to shoehorn someone in, I would pick Athena more than I would probably pick Jade Cargill on any of the sides.
Especially if you got Willow on the other side, considering they just fought each other for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. She tried to break her arm.
I think from what I hear, though, Ty's going to make a full recovery like way before Double or Nothing. So she'll be back, and so will Anna Jay. I don't even think it's, if anything, I don't even think it's Tay Conti we really need to worry about per se. I think it's more Anna Jay, because Anna Jay took a scary bump in that street fight.
Yeah, she did, and
she's been off TV ever since. So I don't think it's Tay we have to worry about, more so Anna Jay.
I wonder, just putting that out there though, I'm going to throw one more name out there, and again, this is based on the promo I heard as well on AEW Dynamite from Ruby Soho. Y'all can find it on YouTube, by the way. Good stuff. Boy, did Ruby Soho feel like she came into her own or what? Anyway, another name, I don't know if she would be ready by time, but I'm just saying, she came back during Arcade Anarchy, one point on Dynamite. Chris Statlander.
Yeah.
If she's cleared by Double or Nothing, and they do Bread and Guts post that to set up, Chris Statlander would have to be the other one, in my opinion. She truly is an AEW original.
Yeah, but the only problem with that is you're going to have her win Blood and Guts. I guess it wouldn't be a big deal if you put the TBS title over in that regard, but if she wins Blood and Guts, wouldn't it make more sense for her to get a world championship match?
Well, at this point, I just don't know if they're still going to go with her to break that bitch, because JJ, your girl's going to lose eventually. Nothing lasts forever.
I think Statlander would be better off taking the open challenge and then just coming back as a surprise than winning Blood and Guts. Because again, I think, and as much as JJ would probably like that, at the same time, I know JJ would be like long-term storytelling. What has more long-term storytelling? Because Chris Statlander just being inserted in Blood and Guts don't have a lot of it. You know what I mean?
Well, considering that she did have history with Ruby Soho, there's some sort of storytelling there, if you remember the Yolan. But I'll just leave it at that. Again, go watch the promo. But that being said, Blood and Guts this, Blood and Guts that. Will it come to fruition for the women this year? I'm not fully sure yet, because right now the dynamic sounds like it could be 3-on-3, 4-on-4, but Blood and Guts has always been 5-on-5, and I don't think the women's division has enough depth. Could they do something similar to Blood and Guts? Maybe. I just hope the women never do a Texas death match, because I feel like that would be insane. But speaking of insane, my God almighty, was this insane in the membrane.
Insane in the brain!
Speaking of which, how neither of these men got punctured in the back of their head or concussed is beyond me, but Jesus Christ, Texas death match.
Yeah.
I called this shit. JJ, you summed it up simply in 2 words afterwards, so I'm definitely going to let you set the pace for this one. Besides those 2 words, go ahead and give your thoughts towards this.
This match was just holy shit.
Right?
Yep.
From bell to bell. And while personally I may not be a fan of the gentleman who won, I understand the decision to put him over in this regard. So it was everything it needed to be and more.
Yep. that's an alternative. Okay.
Especially when you're comparing it to the emotion of some of the other matches within the course of the evening. You compare the emotion of this to the emotion in Jack Perry and Christian. You compare it to the emotion of the main event, which we'll get to momentarily, of MJF and Bryan Danielson.
Oh, yeah.
And this match was set up perfectly and had everything it needed to deliver,
And more.
Right.
bar none.
Yeah.
Again, if I was running the book, probably would have changed the winner. But again, that's from a personal standpoint, not a professional standpoint.
Yeah.
I
That's what
do
it
think
makes me-
that Adam is going to be able to maybe rebound and get back to where he needs to be title contention wise from this victory, whereas Moxley doesn't really need it at this point.
No. Again, he beat Chris Jericho for the title. He is now a 3-time AEW World Champion. We thought this guy was going to go on vacation last year. He turned out to be the light in the darkest times, and he still kicks it into plus full gear times 10. And he did it here, including forking the damn man and spewing his blood, probably more so crazier than the person who plays Ghostface in Scream. Forking heck, this match took that stipulation to another level. James, I think that's a fair take. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, this match was all kinds of crazy. I mean, they just absolutely brutalized each other to a bloody pulp, both of them. They just killed each other, man. Honestly, I as much as I love the Jungle Boy and Christian match, the reason why this is my second favorite match of the night is because there was so much story going into this, and it all kind of culminated here. And they did in a hardcore match, mind you, a death fucking match. They, actually incorporated stories into the match, which I really, really like the touches there. Like, Hangman going after the head and then the curb stomp. A lot of people are like, why? Why did he kick out of the curb stomp out of the bricks? Reason being, because he got a concussion. That's how this whole feud kicked off, was from a legit concussion. So, the way they kind of had you on the edge of your seat after he pulled out the curb stomp, which, oh my God, that was probably the most gnarly. I would say, by the way, the second most gnarly spot, because the last most gnarly spot was Hangman getting the win by legitimately choking Moxley. Because Moxley didn't get his freaking hand under the freaking barbed wire in time. Holy shit. Like, he's the Hangman, all right. He
came in at high noon, Ghost Rider in the sky, Johnny Cash. I love that. The theatrics was there in the intro. Heyman became something else he thought he wasn't capable of doing, and he come out surviving. As you said, surviving against Jon Moxley.
I remember going to Best in the World 2017, and I said, oh, that's why they call him the Hangman, because he's a brutal, sadistic psychopath. Right? Because I didn't know who the fuck he was up until Best in the World 2017.
That's probably a fair take.
And then that's what I saw here. That was the Hangman that I loved from Ring of Honor. Before the Dark Order stuff, before he became Depressing Cowboy and Anxious Millennial Cowboy, he was the fucking Hangman. And that was the Hangman.
Back when he was before he was emo Peter Parker in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fair take, though.
To be fair, man, like and not that storyline was bad, by the way. I really enjoyed the story they told with that, but I'm glad we're now into the Hangman that he was of old, and that he got over his insecurities, and now he's back to what brought him to the fucking dance.
After who knows how long.
So
I would say this match was probably third for me. And the reason why I think that I didn't gravitate to it as much as you did, James, aside from my feelings towards Hangman, is you got to remember that Moxley, Ambrose's rise in the E was right as I was phasing out of watching full time.
Yep.
So I didn't see everything that he did, the lunatic fringe. Pretty much once the Shield broke up, I didn't really see anything he did on his own.
Right.
And I'm still kind of new to the AEW party.
And the thing, the AEW side is Jon Moxley before he became Dean Ambrose, back when he worked CCW. And since leaving WWE, Jon Moxley found himself again back at Double or Nothing 2019, the same night that him and Adam Page found himself looking at the prize at hand held by our current world champion now, MJF. And these two are two of the hardest working men in AEW history. And they finally settled a freaking multi-month rivalry where both men literally have injured each other, and Heyman literally hung Jon Moxley to win.
So yeah, I think that's part of why I didn't gravitate to this one the way you did.
Fair enough.
Personally.
That's definitely fair.
But it's definitely number 3 for me of the night.
The things these men put each other through. Forking barbed wire boards. At one point, we thought Heyman literally spiked himself or cut his head open after that fall from not Grace to the top rope thrown up by Jon Moxley for that one board. Brick, steel chain, crushing the Hangman's hand, making the buckshot lariat less definitive, less effective. And then Jon Moxley looking like a reincarnated Bruiser Brody, literally getting hung, like you said, didn't get his hand underneath the chain, and literally was crushing the man's larynx worse than that freaking lariat that injured him back at the Fabulous Forum. LA Forum in LA, where Heyman got that win. And yes, I know it was like technically their 4th match, but the 3rd one in Dayton, Heyman wasn't going to accept that, we end this thing on a roll-up pin. Well, Texas Death Match, I don't need more definitive conclusion than that.
Yeah.
But based on what happened on Dynamite, something tells me it's not over yet with these two. Good grief.
As long as they don't do another exploding ring match.
No, but now we're gonna go to the fucking unsanctioned territory. Oh my god, I don't even want to
lights
think about
out.
what the hell
Dark
they're
Order
gonna
versus
do.
freaking god.
Oh no. Oh,
Hell gonna
Shut up.
sell. Oh wait,
Shut
that's
up!
not the
You're giving Tony Khan ideas. Well, at least Tony Khan would actually give us a cell that's silver.
No, he can call it the Rage in the Cage.
Oh, that's right, he could.
Resurrect the WCW Triple Cage.
Okay,
Or maybe
Bro,
you know
bad
a
idea.
more apropos name, because everybody's going to be in absolute amount of pain after the match. The Penis and Uranus match.
Bro, I got it, bro. Bro.
Go
Renee Paquette on a pole match.
No.
Bro, it draws all kinds of money, bro. For real, bro.
That's
Main
different.
event.
That's different, but that's wrong. That is wrong on so many levels. And
the minute I see
God.
a fucking forklift bring out Renee Paquette and lift her up in the air while she's handcuffed to the fucking thing, I stop watching wrestling. That's it.
I'm done. Bye, see ya.
Bye, see ya. I'm
I
gone.
officially turned on my resignation for the championship versus Mia, and I turned my resignation to the industry. I become a Twitch streamer.
Fuck that, bro. Absolutely no.
You don't do
my
anything to Renee Paquette.
You leave her alone. You leave her alone.
Okay, Britney Spears girl. This is go. Okay, let's try and bring it back here. This is going with all forms of butt fucky. Good grief.
Yeah, it did.
But I
we
will
still
say
got
this.
the main event.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not on the main event yet, but speaking of butt fucky, I thought it was going to be that, but I'll admit, JJ.
Speaking of butt fucky, we had slap nuts, scissoring, ass boys, a freaking weird little clown guy, and a dude who really likes to put his hands in his pockets. Spot the innuendos here, everybody.
I'm just going to let this sit here for a moment and let people think about that. As yes, the AEW World Tag Team Championships was on the line in a fatal four-way action. As the Guns, Austin and Colton Gunn, defended against the Acclaim, looking to be back on top of the game, still making their name, rising in fame, taking on the AEW All-Atlantic Champion, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, now known as the AEW International Championship, and Danhausen, representing the Best Friends, taking on, God help me, in 2023, your eyes don't deceive you, Jeff freaking Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
Triple J.
Ain't they great? Oh my God almighty. Oh yes, there were so many struts, including our freshly squeezed one that I actually do approve of. And then we had a four-way strut at one point with the weirdest form of scissoring I've ever seen in my life. Bowens, thank God, broke that up immediately. James, you learned what Danhausen's actually capable of inside the ring.
Dude, holy shit, Danhausen, absolutely. Bro, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The dude was wrestling like he had been there for like 10 years in this industry. I didn't expect it. I didn't know. I knew he could go, but the fluidity of his wrestling is actually, it's nuts. Why isn't he used more? Like, that's all I got out of this match. By the way, I really enjoyed the match. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. It was fun. We had a lot of fun moments. It was basically your comedy match of the night, to be fully honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Cassidy, Danhausen, and Slapnuts and Scissoring. Yeah, that's fun.
All we needed was Daddy Magic on commentary.
Oh, God.
You know what makes my nipples hard? This
Jeff
match.
Jarrett wrestling in 2023.
And Big G's favorite wrestler nearly got the AEW World Tag Team Championships.
But Aubrey had to screw him again.
Hey, hold on. No, Aubrey, you shush up. You both shush up. Aubrey did not screw Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett needs to respect the friggin' referee in the middle of the ring. Aubrey Edwards is an impartial party who acted on the highest integrity, making sure that there was a proper, decisive win. The only thing Aubrey was wronging is not letting Max Caster bring Jeff Jarrett in the head with that damn guitar. But I digress. Continue.
I was throwing Jeff's comment out because he's not here to say it.
I want to also point out, with everything that happened there, I was watching this match. I was just like, so this is why they booked the 4-way. Because the Ass Boys became the Ass Boys because Danhausen called them the Ass Boys. Oh, I get why they're in the match now.
They're the Ass Boys.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, it was just a fun match. Like you said, it was the comedy match of the night. With all the drama and emotion going through the evening, you had to have that one match that was just going to take everybody out of it.
Right.
You've got Jay Lethal, the man who for the majority of his career made a living off of a Macho Man impression. Teaming with Jeff Jarrett, arguably the greatest Four Horsemen member ever. But I digress.
That's a critical take.
And it's a bullshit take. As much as I love Jarrett, at least he's a better horseman than Sid and Paul Roma.
I agree with that.
That's not saying that.
Then, like you said,
it's still true.
You had the Acclaimed, known for their scissoring. You had the Ass Boys. Then you had Danhausen, very nice, very evil.
Really nice, but evil.
You got Orange Cassidy, who the more I see Orange Cassidy, the more seriously I take him because he presents himself as such a gimmick, such a joke with the whole hands in his pockets and everything. But then when he gets in there and he starts doing moves while his hands are still in his pockets,
including
you're just like,
people
holy
overhead.
Shit.
Tossing people overhead with just his body while hands are firmly in the pockets. Let's put that in perspective.
Yeah, back body drop, hands free.
So talented. You can't help but watch Orange Cassidy and be impressed with every single match.
Every time he delivers.
He hasn't been TNT or had a serious run at the world title yet.
Hence why he has the international title.
And has been on, get this, 20 match winning streak up to this point.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, if the rankings still mean shit in AEW, I definitely want to see him versus Hobbs, him versus Starks. Something over in that area.
Well, we got to see if he still has the AEW International Championship because here's another spoiler for you, and this is definitely going to cause some discussion. Next week, Wednesday, on AEW Dynamite in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, it is Orange Cassidy defending the AEW now known International Championship against Jeff Jarrett.
Let's go. Have Jarrett take the belt off of him.
Oh,
have
God.
Cassidy go to the next level. No. Yes.
Jeff
Yes.
Jarrett does not. No.
No.
Jeff
Think
Jarrett
about
does,
this for a second.
No.
No.
Think about this for a
No.
second.
All right.
I know how anti-Jarrett you guys are.
You're damn
But
right.
think about this for a second.
I own it TNA. I own it TNA. No.
Okay, number one, Jarrett's not booking.
Still.
So he's not going to book himself long term. But think
Oh, they
about this for a
did
second, James. Jarrett is one of probably the top 10 intercontinental champions of all time.
Fair.
Okay. Jarrett was a decent WCW hand. I believe he was US champion at one point.
He was world champion too.
I
I'm
believe
not
I could
sure.
be wrong. Fact check me if I'm wrong.
I grew up on WWF side of things. I don't know.
But I'm pretty sure he had at least a US title run.
Ugh.
You know, Jeff Jarrett, you have to look at Jeff Jarrett the same way we look at Christian Cage, the same way we look at Jericho. Jarrett is there to get the young talent open, get them over. You want an international championship that's going to have the prestige, like we're talking about earlier, rivaling the TNT title.
Right.
Give it to a name like Jeff Jarrett that people know. The casual fans are going to hear Jeff Jarrett, international champion. They're going to be like, Jeff Jarrett's still wrestling?
Jeff
He's
Jarrett's
a champion?
What?
Let me check that out.
Oh God.
Have Jeff Jarrett versus some of these younger guys.
Oh Lord.
You know,
Okay.
have a decent little, you know, we'll say from, let's say he wins Dynamite next week.
God help us.
Have him run with it till Double or Nothing. That's a good almost 2-month run with the belt. And if Jarrett takes on all comers, even if he does his cheap ass heel tactics, that's a solid run for somebody his age with a belt that you're really trying to still formulate an identity out of.
Okay. If you
Think
wanna
about it from that aspect for a minute and
get
put
that.
your personal hatred.
I don't even have a hatred for Jarrett, by the way. Okay. Here's my thing. It's you're risking people that do hate Jarrett. And I'm not one of them, but you're risking people that do hate Jarrett. That if they see him with the title, you're risking making fans run off, which, quite frankly, really don't need. I get the aspect of it, but with Jarrett being the guy, I think you'd be doing more harm than good.
But here's the counter to that.
If you do Jay Lethal with Jeff Jarrett in his corner, okay, cool.
That's what I was thinking.
Here's the counterpoint to what you're saying, though.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you make Jarrett champion, you still have Max. You still have Hobbs. You still have the House of Black. You still got Hater. People that the fans really are getting behind that are going to tune into the show to see.
Right.
And you always want to have that heel champion that isn't the cool heel that you kind of get behind and says funny things like Max. You want that heel champion sometimes that you're going to pay to see when he loses because you want him to lose it so fucking bad.
You're not wrong.
Is
not
that
wrong
going to
there.
happen? Is that going to happen though? Or
there's only one way to find out.
It has to have a beginning first. And next week, Wednesday, we will see the beginning of the AEW International Championships. First defense by freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, who's going in with a bum knee after Jeff Jarrett bashed a guitar over it.
Yeah, so you've got Cassidy already going in injured. You've got the first match of the newly dubbed championship. What better time to divert and start a new chapter with a new champion?
I'm also just going to say this while we also talk about, this match. Danhausen cursed the pencil, broken in half, pissed off Sanjay. And we saw Giant go from 7 feet to 3 feet with the help of an orange punch, crop punch combination and a famous serve by Daddy Ass. And we learned that still rock beat scissors when the Guns basically hit Daddy ass in the uprights with a double low blow. This match was all comedy gold. I'm not going to lie. This was a sleeper for me. This was really fun. But the aspect of Jeff Jarrett, and keep in mind, Jeff Jarrett and his cronies still have possession of that Golden Globe. It was that Golden Globe to the head that nearly gave you Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal as tag champions. But Aubrey said it was 2. And that's when Jeff Jarrett's temper got the better of him, too. And that's when Aubrey was going to have none of it. She was right in the way she acted on that spot. You respect the official, and Aubrey Edwards, you don't piss off. All right? Who's more worse getting pissed off? Aubrey Edwards or Jeff Jarrett? I don't want to see an angry Aubrey Edwards.
In all seriousness, I love me some Aubrey Edwards. I think she gets shit on way too much by the fans.
Completely agree.
I love her to death, but ever since our Jeff, started the whole Aubrey screwed Jarrett thing,
I love it.
I've just kind of running with it. Like I said, Jeff isn't here with us today. So I had to steal the shtick.
Yeah, I don't blame you, and I'm going to react to that shtick. I'm the counterpoint to that, all right? And I love doing that. So thank you, Jeff Jarrett, and thank you, Aubrey Edwards. Keep doing
I'm
that.
The counterpoint to the Jarrett hate. Like I said, I mean, who would have thought, in all seriousness,
right
after his Hall of Fame induction, that he could still be relevant like he is
in 2023 in the youngest, keep in mind, youngest big player in the wrestling industry, still, might I add, a little over 3 years old.
Right.
You know, he had the huge match with Flair last year, which was what it was. People loved it or hated it.
The whole different
thing. And now he's here because he still has so much to give. That match against Flair proved he still had so much to give to this industry.
In ring and in
let him prove it by being the champion. You know, one more championship, one more company. And it's not the main prize. He's not the AEW champion.
That's fair.
I would prefer if him and Lethal got the tag straps personally. But since Aubrey seems to keep screwing him, put the international belt on him.
I hope.
Like I said, top 10 Intercontinental champion.
She'll screw him out of that,
time.
too.
I hope
Jay Lethal will get
Aubrey Edwards is the referee next week. I pray Aubrey Edwards is the ref for that match next week, please.
Jarrett is a top 10 Intercontinental champion of all time, and he deserves one more glory run.
10? Top 10? Really?
All right. That's a hot take for another day, James. And stay tuned, folks. I'm sure the dads have done their coverage on Intercontinental Champions or will at some point.
We haven't. We're doing it this year. I want to say it's October.
Good job. Well, speaking of top, what happened afterwards, why the Ass Boys came out and successfully retained, top guys are back to once again claim their spot at the top of the game. FTR are back, and they have made their intentions well and clear. They want the AEW World Tag Team Champions. More to come on that, too. Now, whether or not it's Battle of the Belts or whether or not they somehow drag this out to some sort of special AEW Dynamite, because more Dynamites feel like pay-per-views than I can keep track of. Good grief almighty. We'll have to wait and see, but it's so damn good to see Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood back on my screens, showing us what a big rig actually is, not a modified, what they call 310 to Yuma, that freaking modified big rig flatliner that the Guns used to pin Danhausen to successfully retain the championships. And I will give credit where credit's due. All 4 teams had a chance of that match to become the champs. In the end, the Guns were able to overcome the odds and outweigh the field, but they're still the rare end of an ass, and that's all I got to say about that.
Nice. I'm looking forward to this match. Now that we're going to be getting it, yes, FTR, win the belts, win the belts, win the belts, win the belts.
Please, God.
Love of God. FTR get back on top.
FTR win him a double or nothing, though. Make it mean something.
Don't
do it on a throwaway Dynamite or even Battle of the Belts.
The championship fight night under special circumstances.
I will accept them doing it at a Dynamite or a Battle of the Belts if at Double or Nothing we get Young Bucks versus FTR 3 and finally conclude that series.
Yes,
that's fair.
That is the only way I will take that.
But that's fair.
All right. Well, we've had a lot of discussion, we've had a lot of fun. I'm just going to go ahead and give y'all a little bit of a sub-10 since y'all didn't watch, but I kind of already.
Oh yeah, by the way, hold on. Dax Harwood was bleeding. By the way, I don't know how that.
Because he got jacked by Austin Gunn with a right.
Yeah, it's just like, did he ever?
Yeah, what a clear shot.
Kerfuffle.
Jesus.
Kerfuffle
Yeah, but Dax Harwood don't
scuffles.
give a damn. He fights like an 8-year-old girl, and he fights to win. That man is professional wrestling. Damn it.
Bro,
But
if you don't know the context about that, that's still like it's funny. We know the reason why he says that, but like if you tell that to a casual, he fights like an 8-year-old girl. What the fuck?
Well, what do you expect unless you tell him? Here's the thing. Hi, Jeff. This guy is not just a professional wrestler. He is also a proud father. And boy, he was not the only father that showed us truly what his merit was about. Because, guys, we talk about a lot of stuff, but it's time to break down, discuss, analyze everything plus and above the AEW Revolution main event. Because this show culminated in what I still believe is the greatest wrestling match I have ever seen and my favorite Iron Man match of all time. Critics be damned. The AEW World Championship was contested in AEW's first ever 60-minute Iron Man match as Maxwell Jacob Freeman, the Devil, MJF, defended the Triple B against the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. That's professional fucking wrestling to the highest degree. Damn it.
This is what you get when you mix.
digress.
This is what you get when you mix the work rate of Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada, mix it in with some old school psychology of Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair, and you mix that with the greatest WrestleMania match of all time of Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, and you mix that with the Iron Man shenanigans of The Rock and Triple H. Oh, that's what it was. That's this match. The greatest Iron Man match of all fucking time. Nothing comes close. Nothing. Phenomenal effort by this from both these guys. It is so hard to make an Iron Man match not feel like a slog all the way through. They pulled it off. I was not bored once during this match. Not one time was I ever bored during this matchup. Bro, I don't give a fuck who you are. Dave Meltzer, Brian Zane, whoever the fuck does star ratings, Owen Finch, subscribe. Everybody, go. You rate if we're gonna go by the break the scale method, this match fucking deserves it. 5 stars, 6 stars, 7 stars, whatever you want to go by. This all the stars this deserves. They killed it here, man. They killed it. It was just two of the best in the freaking world being the very best in the fucking world. Dude, you can't look at this match and tell me Maxwell is not the now of professional wrestling. He is. And he proved it in this fucking match. There's not one thing you cannot give this guy that he won't turn into fucking gold. In the ring, on the mic, whatever the fuck he's doing, he will knock it out of the park every time, like Barry Bonds at home plate. This guy is on a whole other level of fuck shit right now. You cannot screw with him. Seriously. Like, it would be impossible to somehow fuck his reign up. He's too damn good. He's that much of a freaking prodigy. And I'm not even saying that to kiss up to Max at all. Like, he was so good here. He did better than I even thought he was going to fucking do. And I said he was going to prove how best in the world he was. This guy exceeded my expectations. And they were fucking high to begin with. Phenomenal matchup. Like, you guys owe it to yourselves in your lifetime to watch this matchup. If you are a wrestling fan, I don't give a fuck if it's just WWE you watch or just Impact or whatever. If you're just an indie guy through and through and you don't watch anything, you are doing yourself a disservice if you do not watch this Iron Man match from this show. It is I don't get, and it's not recency bias either. This was out of this world exceptional. You owe it to yourself to see this once before you die.
JJ, your rebuttal.
It's hard. It's hard to follow that. Spirit Planes here in the chat says James is over here marking out.
No, for real.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd go that far. I do feel that there's a lot of truth in what James just said. Would I consider it the greatest Iron Man match of all time? I'm going to hold my reservation of that because I would want to go back and literally do a deep dive into Iron Man matches like I've been doing for WrestleMania main events.
Fair enough.
Watch them all and rank them as I watch them.
Mm-hmm.
If I can nitpick this match, there is one thing about this match that did take me out of it, and it happened quite frequently.
Which is?
That was Max's water breaks.
Hydration.
I thought that was hilarious heel heat, actually. I thought
it would have been funny the first couple of times, but to do it as consistently as he did made me feel like he wasn't ready for that spotlight.
Yeah, it's one thing when he did it once to maybe mock, I thought, Ric Flair. But we also talk about going 60 minutes. You have to have conditioning. You have to stay hydrated. You have to have the cardio. You have to have the endurance. He did it like 3 or 4 times to the point that I was almost like, okay, now
it's like, oh, it's been 10 minutes. Time for a water break.
Well, I mean, the clock wasn't always on the screen, but clearly had a mental clock. But
he did it quite a few times. I can think of at least 3 to 4 that he did.
I think I counted 4 according to my thing.
Which is an average of every 15 minutes. He's taking a water break.
Which is fair enough, but at the same time, you could argue that even with the water breaks, was he being the smarter heel?
I'm not saying nothing about heel heat. I'm not saying anything about intelligence. It just seemed like it was a little overdone.
Right.
Fair enough. You think about people in Iron Man history, and one guy that I don't think anybody thought was going to be able to go the hour was Rocky when he went toe-to-toe with Hunter.
Yep.
And he did it. He didn't need water breaks. Yeah, they did rest holds. Every Iron Man match has rest holds. This one had rest holds.
Yeah.
But he didn't stop for water breaks. And if he did, it was his one signature when he would talk shit to the announce table, jaw jacking the commentators, take a swig of water, get back in the ring.
Right.
It wasn't 3 or 4 times in a match.
Maybe, I guess. And fair enough.
And like I said, it's nitpicking, but it's the one thing that kind of took me out of it a little bit.
I like the fact that you did bring that little notion up, because I do think people probably think that little spot right there, maybe there was more to it. Maybe it was a bit excessive. I mean, again, we talk about the catches Kim style of wrestling both men exhibited in the mat. We talk about how many counter for counter exchanges that they had, exhausting each other. We talked about the pinpoint accuracy, the strategy exercised by Master Jacob Freeman even before this match, up to trying to avoid this match, constantly attacking the shoulder. And then, of course, he brought his knee into play, further exaggerating that since his battle with Kenosi the Kesga. I was like, yep, there goes the knee again. And in Maxwell Jacob Freeman matches I've seen, the knee has always been an Achilles heel in momentum for his matches. It's been a downfall for him, or a downward turn of momentum for him, and that came into play several times here. At one point, talk about the Calgary Crab, but it's one of those things where I look at what this match didn't give me versus what this match did give me, where I don't really think about that water spot maybe being a bit more excessive than it should have been, because yeah, you're right. It may have happened like once a quarter, but hey, there's worse things you can do in a quarter. You could do a picture-to-picture. You could do, this is brought to you by 250 damn times with oversuit graphics over the arena and take your way out of the action. You could do, miscellaneous side tangents that don't focus on the action. So, and let's not even talk about or forget about the fact that MJF said F the kids.
But to
Continue.
go more to James's point, as much as you want to put over Max, and I'm taking nothing away from the job that MJF did.
Mm-hmm.
Mad props have to be given to Bryan
Brian,
Danielson.
yes, as well. Yeah.
Because much like Rocky against Hunter,
It takes two.
I don't think any of us thought Max was going to be able to go the distance.
No.
And that just shows what a great performer Brian is to be able to carry Max to that.
But also how well Max was able to carry himself.
And as much as you want to label Max the best thing right now, goes to prove why Danielson truly is the best in the world.
Go.
Yeah. I think therein lies the thing too. I was putting over Max so huge, but you're right. I think that's what made this match so damn good. It was just two of the best in the world, the number 1A and 1B from a technical wrestling standpoint in the fucking world, just going to town, man. And it was such a great thing to see. Like, yeah, there was the water spot. I'll even give you that point, but I'll even go as far as to say this, to go back to my point. Even with that water thing being a thing, still the greatest Iron Man match of all time. I've watched every single Iron Man match throughout my life. Nothing even comes close. Even Brock and Angle, which arguably a lot of people say is the greatest one that ever happened. Some people say it's the first one. I think it's a little stale, especially nowadays.
Even though got to keep in context of the times, though.
Right.
Exactly.
But
could you put Brett versus Shawn at WrestleMania 12 in front of the AEW audience of today, or even the WWE audience of today, and expect them to love it to the extent that they did in 1996?
No.
It's one of those.
Fuck no.
No, I mean, again,
but
short-term
for the time, and for where the companies were, and considering they were the leaders of the new generation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
There wasn't no tweeter either.
Yeah.
I just think, though, even with that, man, the crowd was so hot for this as it went on.
They were, and rightfully so. And again, I don't want to downplay Max. I don't want to take anything away from his performance. Greatest of all time, jury is still out for me as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For some people,
I definitely can say top 3 without having to go back and rewatch for me.
Yeah.
I can definitely say top 3, no hesitation.
You don't even want to know how many.
Number 1, that's a big, bold statement, because
you don't even want to know how many Iron Man matches I've seen from promotions you've all probably never even heard of, not men but women as well. And for me as a fan, because calling something, it's like I told you all, calling something the greatest, the best, it's subjective, but it's mostly subjective to your viewing, not the world's viewing. I've seen Risa Sera versus Suzu Suzuki, 2 women out of Stardom working now. They work out of a promotion called Prominence. They had a 60-minute Iron Man match. I remember Tessa Blanchard and Mercedes Martinez from Rise, 75 minutes. I remember John Cena, Randy Orton. Shenanigans aside, it was a 60-minute Iron Man match in its own right. I remember Brett versus Shawn. I remember Brock versus Kurt. I remember TJP versus Josh Alexander. I remember Heyman versus Bryan Danielson at AEW. I remember Bryan Danielson versus Samoa Joe versus Roderick Strong. I remember, even though it wasn't Iron Man, but it felt like it, Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. There have been Iron Man matches across the entire industry that have set up a standard, but I feel it's safe to say that this Iron Man match set a new standard of expectations if you have been watching Iron Man matches for as long as others may have, casual or hardcore. And I'm probably more hardcore in all things wrestling, shout out to the W family on the Twitter, than most people right now in the friggin' internet wrestling community, even though they say that they are. Because again, I don't watch anything else but wrestling practically. So for me to not only witness this, but live out my commentary fantasies, thank you, Jeff, with you, James, and JJ calling this shit, That's something I'm going to treasure for the rest of my life in the 31 years I've watched professional wrestling sports entertainment. Damn it.
Yeah. You think about it in the same vein that we look at ladder matches. And I'm just going to use 3 WWE ladder matches as an example here.
You better use WrestleMania 10.
I was going to say Shawn and Razor set the bar.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then here came the Hardys versus Edge and Christian at No Mercy 99, the Terry Invitational, and they took it to another level.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then here came TLC.
For
Yeah.
4 tables.
And then you want to go even further than that, you go into like Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, and you think about some of the spots, Shelton Benjamin running up the ladder,
Jeff Hardy breaking Edge in half.
taking it to that next level. So I totally co-sign with what Noah just said. This set the new bar for Iron Man matches in professional wrestling.
Damn it.
To
Top
reiterate,
next.
though, whether it's the greatest or not, in my opinion, still need a deep dive. But it
Subjective.
definitely set a new standard.
Yeah.
But for me, it was
Because
definitely.
this is going to be what
for me.
every Iron Man match is compared to from here on out.
It better be.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Considering that we did have a fall to just a little bit over the 30-minute mark after Bryan Danielson finally hit a damn psycho knee, after these two went catch Cam for the better part of that 38 minutes, a good 15 minutes worth, including freaking 15 near fall count for count roll-ups.
And that's the
jackknife
thing.
backslide at 10.
Everything they did was picture perfect.
Including the clotheslines that took each other out, and they were only down for about 25 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the audience was on their damn feet.
That elbow drop through the table is one of the cleanest elbow drops you will ever see in wrestling, period. That thing landed so flush. It looked like
MJF
it
challenged
killed
CM
Bryan.
Punk, Shawn Michaels, and freaking Macho Man Randy Savage.
That tombstone through the freaking table. What a great use of the freaking broken table also. Like, so many
I've never seen that before. Yes, JJ.
Really quickly, I just want to say to Raymond in the chat, we're here talking about the Revolution pay-per-view right now. Save that comment for open mic night tonight.
Yes.
We will definitely get into that then. That is going to be one of the topics. Please come back for that. But right now we're just trying to focus on AEW and give them their flowers that they rightfully deserve from the pay-per-view they presented last week.
Yeah, and again, James, you called it as soon as that first fall happened, low blow, DQ, but then he got 2 straight falls, nearly went up 3-2.
Well,
and that was beyond brilliant.
Bro, I felt like what's the guy's name for the NFL on CBS? I forget his name. He used to play for the Patriots. I felt like him.
You're talking to 2 guys that don't watch pro sports.
Oh fuck!
That would be a Jeff Meacham or a Stat Boy question.
That's a Stat Boy question. Sorry.
Tony Roma, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I've heard you say that name before.
I feel like Tony Roma, man. I felt like Tony Roma when I made that call. I'm like, if Max gets himself disqualified, yeah, he loses a point to Danielson, but then he could go for 2 straight falls right afterwards, and he could get up 2-1, and he did. And I was like, yeah, I felt so smart. I felt my brain. It was expanding.
All right, Macho Man, calm down. The cream of the crop.
Expanding my brain.
So I do want to pose this question because it's something we talked about a lot going into this match.
Mm-hmm.
We said numerous times that if they were going to pull the trigger on Punk's return, this should have been when they do it.
Right.
Is it a completely lost cause at this point? Or do we still see as
not at all.
Perspective down the road? Because the way I would have done it, and this is my creative booking brain.
Go ahead.
You look at the devil costume that Max came out in for his entrance.
The same mask he wore when he came back at All Out last year.
I would have had that devil costume make an appearance during the Elite match. Costume the match. I would have had that costume make an appearance during the Page match. Costume the match. Then here comes FTR during the post for the tag match. Then I make that costume have an appearance after Max has already made his entrance in that costume.
Right.
So now there's two devils. Was it Max that did the run-ins and the distractions on those other matches? Or was it this other person?
The devil you know versus the devil you don't.
FTR comes out behind him, unmasks, and it's CM Punk.
I think there's still something yet to that to happen.
Yeah.
Because is it me or do those FTR shirts look so nice and bright that they're back in living color?
Ooh.
Look in my eyes. What do you see?
Oh, that's a great spot. I didn't even think about that until you brought up that it really does look like an old school Punk shirt.
And shout out to my brother King from ATW that pointed that out first. But also, did you notice how in living color the Double or Nothing poster is? I'm just saying.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize, like, I've been saying it for a while now. They've been airing Punk on, like, future advertisements on shows anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming back. It's just a matter of when. I'm actually very happy he didn't hear, because I think it would have taken away from what fucking happened. Because then all people would have talking about was Punk's back, Punk's back, Punk's back.
And how many times has MJF in the past talked about how every time he had a moment, it was taken from him by something else?
Not only did he need this moment, not only did he was deserved this moment, he was fucking owed this moment for how many times he's been freaking overshadowed by absolute bullshit controversy. He deserved that.
I'm just saying that's the way I would have booked it.
It's a fair take, though. That's fair booking. That booking would also work, too. But at the end of the day, with this match ended in a draw, and then when decided death overtime, and MJF is literally pounding his fist in the mat, not tapping out to the freaking crab after the ref took the friggin' ring from him because the DQ match, he would have lost the title after the score was 3-3. And my God, that diving headbutt, Bryan Danielson, Jesus Christ. Crimson Masterboard goes to MJF in that one. And then both men trying to just hold each other, but couldn't because the blood was so slippery. The fake out psycho knee bringing Bryan Danielson up 3-3 after the heat seeker through the table, like you said, and the extra impact on that table. But in the end, in sudden death, a fake out, tap out after a rope break, and an oxygen tape to the face side of the ref. You truly
after he gave a middle finger on the rope, by the way. He got to the rope with his middle finger,
by the way. The middle
Such
finger.
a great touch.
F you, Brian. I'm not tapping out to you, but you will tap out to me because I'm better than you. And he did in Bryan Danielson's own freaking label lock.
I lost my mind because the whole time he's doing tombstones, he's hurting his knee that was screwed up by the match with Takeshita, right? So he was selling the knee and he was clutching at every tombstone he ever delivered, right? And any move that he ever took on his knees, like that was great. And when Danielson locked him into the fucking Calgary Crab, taking a page from another trainer of his, another mentor of his, Lance Storm's playbook, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. He took something from Ring of Honor 05 when he fought him for the world title. Holy shit. That was so mark-out material, bro. I couldn't believe he just busted out the Calgary Crab like that, and it made so much sense. So much
Brian's
sense.
history.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a minute, but I could have sworn Storm called it the Canadian Maple Leaf.
That would have been in WCW. They called it the Calgary Crab in WWF.
They changed it?
Which I think it's a better name, to be fair.
You know WWE has to change everything. F-E, whatever. And the one point, James, you said that we were talking about the entrance. Forget about the theatrics of the entrance of MJF. The devil coming in. The title coming in from ashes, black and white.
MJF's entrance was on par with some of the best WrestleMania entrances I've ever seen.
The subtlety, the simplicity, the symphony pre-written before the match's conclusion that came down to a broken wrestler, but a woken father in a pit of tragedy. It's that type of stuff that feeds me so damn much in this industry. And the fact that it came out in black and white too is like, this is not Maxwell Jacob Freeman. This is the devil walking on the earth. I am that. I believe I am that. I believe I am better than you. I believe I am the best. And at one point, James, when they're headbutting each other and Brian's just smiling and MJF is
frowning, and I said that looked like the Phantom of the Opera mask of happy smile, as happy face, frown face. Yeah, holy shit. Oh my god. And the best part was the ending too, because
a minute he was in that hold, a minute.
The minute he was, and then they call, and Shivani's the one to give the announcement with a freaking pep in his
like
step.
A Cheshire cat.
That was such a nice freaking touch. And then when Max, after he got his finger on the rope and he did the fake tap out, I have never seen this done in my life. This was amazingly put together, because they had Max with the oxygen, and they did the same for Danielson, right? And then when they announced there had to be a winner and it was going to a fourth and final fall, and there's an oxygen tank right there because they had to rush out of the ring. Magnifique! It was so well placed. I was like, holy shit. And then the fact that it wasn't over, everybody was like, why wasn't it over? He should have gone passed out. It didn't matter. It was. I loved that the reason he tapped wasn't because of, any other reason. Like, he put his pride to the side, and he even said it on Dynamite, it was time to go home. That's why. That's exactly why he did what he did. Because if he didn't, he would have not been able to do anything with his kids again. And Max was going to be hell-bent on that promise in that moment. And he knew he couldn't let it go. He had to let it go. That is what ultimately lost the match for Danielson, because he wanted to be a winning father, not a winning wrestler in that case. That's what it was. He could have continued if he wanted to, but Max may have broken his arm, and it would have been game set match. Dude, like,
I
can't say enough good things about this fucking match, man. Like, I can't. I honestly can't. It was
what would you rather hold? A title belt over your shoulder or your own child?
Yeah, exactly, bro. It's just so good. I love storytelling. Yep. I love how they just made the greatest Iron Man match. I can't believe I called the greatest Iron Man match in wrestling history, bro. Like, I can't.
Absolutely.
That shit.
And again, if y'all missed it, go back on all of our channels and check out our coverage from AEW Revolution last week.
Bar has been set. Top that shit. Simple as that.
Yeah, bro. And before we end this and go into the shills, Noah, for real, I think, honestly, since we started doing the commentator, this is the top call we've ever had. I don't think anything comes close to what the fuck we did at Revolution. And we've done a lot of great shit, but like, that is the top for me. I think we did such a great job on that. I don't know if you watched that back, but
as someone who's been there, who's been there for a lot of your guys' rides, I think the only thing that I've seen that even came close to this was y'all calling Austin Owens last year.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And that was just the sheer shock factor of Austin was actually having a fucking match.
Yeah, like top to bottom for that card.
But as far as bell to bell, the entire show, I would have to agree.
Well, that being said, it's been a pleasure, guys. Let's go ahead and give one last final take in as simple a matter as possible. JJ, AEW Revolution was the launch of AEW's 2023 pay-per-view cycle. What's your final thought overall on this show?
All in all, top to bottom, I thought it was a fun card. I thought that everything hit where it needed to. You know, the emotions were riding high in 3 of the matches specifically. We had some good comedy moments. The women represented themselves well. You know, it was a stellar show from bell to bell. And before I turn it over to James for his final thoughts, let me just ask you guys one final question.
Please.
When we all convened last year and became a unit, y'all were virtually on the way out of WWE, and I had barely tipped my toes into AEW. Did y'all ever think that a year later I'd be sitting here doing a recap show with you guys about AEW?
No.
No, sir.
Because
Again, how
I
time
think it's
changes
the
us.
same. I think it's the same because I've mentioned a few times about how you guys have, granted, since Triple H took over, changed your feelings about WWE, and you're actually looking forward to doing shows
Romania
and being
everything.
involved in everything. And here I am, the flip side of that coin, and here I am doing a simple take wrap up for an AEW pay per view.
Yeah.
How time makes better of us all, how the industry has come together for the better overall. James, before you give your simple final take, what did you think of MJF post-prep conference?
Oh
Because I know
my
you've also
God.
watched that scrum as well.
Oh my God. That was a whole other show. Bro, I don't give a damn. Yeah, he drank water. I don't give a shit. This motherfucker just had the greatest Iron Man match of all time, and then he goes and talks for like another 20 minutes doing a CM Punk pipe bomb press scrum promo, eating fucking dill pickles like a fiend. Answering questions.
It was the funniest shit I've ever seen. It was the stupidest shit I've ever seen.
It works so
was
well.
So gimmicky. But you couldn't help but sit there and laugh. You couldn't help but sit there and crack up at Max.
Who the fuck is dipshit in that clip? I don't know who he is. Who is he? Like, cause he's just he goes, "Come here, dipshit, have a pickle," and he just has a pickle, and then he goes after he bites the pickle, he goes, "Yeah, now fuck off."
What a humble man. What a humble champion.
Oh,
all right, James, your simple wrap up take.
Simple A+ for that scrum for MJF alone. Man, okay. Fucking hell. This show, top to bottom. We always do gradings for every show, I think, that we do, like especially for retros on Owen's channel. If I go back to this, even with recency bias, it has been a week, and I stand by what I say, man. From top to bottom, the way they structured this card, the way they put people over, the right people winning. This is an S-rank show. It was an S-tier effort from all parties involved, man. This is honestly, and the more I think about it, honestly, it might be the best AEW show of all time. I don't even think, like, this may be the best pay-per-view that Tony Khan and anybody in AEW has ever produced. And that means, if you know by my rankings, that means this actually beats 17 for me, and this beats Wrestle Kingdom 12. So the fact that they beat two of the greatest wrestling shows that I have ever seen in my fucking lifetime, that says a hell of a fucking lot, man. Like, what a goddamn show. This.
There you go.
There you go.
It's a standing ovation. Again, it's always subjective, but at the end of the day, we're all fans of our own design, our own choice, our own opinions. As far as me, again, I'm not one to rank. I'm not one to put superlatives or adjectives, but in the 31 years I've been alive, I could say it each and every time, but I truly do mean it this time. This show truly delivered what I want to see as a fan of professional wrestling. Damn it. But I digress.
Buy the shirt.
Buy the shirt. I did.
Yes, he did. And I don't market myself either, but I'm happy to help the network all I can.
No, again, I just do it for you after it's been live.
Yeah. I know. Everybody does it for me. Good grief almighty. Again, comedy, emotion, storytelling, seriousness, booking, order, the feel, the ran, 3 hours and 50 minutes. You
Plus
saw
the buy-in.
8 matches, plus the buy-in outside of that. Nothing here sold you short on what AEW is trying to bring to do to showcase. Not one thing here felt bathroom break. Not one thing here felt out of place. I faced every emotion, including happiness. I was even as suspicious disbelief that Jeff Jarrett was going to become AEW World Tag Team Champion.
And he should have.
No, he should have. Aubrey was right. It was 2. Don't get me started.
I'm just here to watch the world burn right now.
James, damn it.
It's it just freaking going at each other's throats over poor Jeff Jarrett, man.
I swear,
he's
one of
just
these
doing his
days,
thing, man.
one of these days, this rant is not going to have a happy ending.
Hey,
Meanwhile,
Noah, you want some gold?
damn it, James! You freaking idiot! I had to do something to get me to say that in the end. But yes, yeah. AEW Revolution is my favorite AEW pay-per-view I've ever seen as a fan. But top to bottom, one of my favorite shows I've ever seen as a fan of this industry. Well done. Top that shit. All right. Well, that being said, before we talk about anything else that could literally be a ratings killer, we'll go ahead and send ourselves off with, of course, what we have still to deliver on our other platforms too. JJ, for your first All Elite Simple Take, I think you had a great time. I'd love to do this again. Maybe this will be a standard going forward. Now, whether or not they're live on Saturday afternoon or go back to the Tuesday routine, we'll see how wrestling schedules play out. I know we still have a lot ahead, but anything you want to promote, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on social medias, Instagram, The Renegade JJ Williams, YouTube, Casa D18 Studios, Twitter, @ROW JJ Williams. And then I've got so much content coming up. First and foremost, yes, go ahead and throw that one back up.
Perfect. You do the movies first.
Yep, first and foremost, that is what you could see on my channel from this past week. Monday was Abraxas, Guardian of the Universe, starring Jesse Ventura. Wednesday was Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies, starring Roddy Piper, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Kurt Angle. Friday was Maximum Conviction, which my girlfriend walked out of. If that gives you any inkling about how that movie goes.
All right.
Steven Seagal and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And literally in about 33 minutes on my channel, new release Saturday, Your Place or Mine will go live.
Nice.
Coming up next week on the channel, The Price of Fame, starring the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Avengers of Justice. Think disaster movie, epic movie, not even on a scary movie standard, but it's Marvel, DC, and Star Wars parody.
Oh, God.
HBK nice. Shawn Michaels as Jedi Master Yoga. Yes, I said that right.
What the fuck is this?
Money Plane, starring Hall of Famer Edge alongside Kelsey Grammer, Denise Richards, and Thomas Jane. And the new release Saturday next week will be the Netflix original We Have a Ghost, starring Anthony Mackie and David Harbour. Tonight, of course, tune in later on this evening for the Saturday night shenanigans that are open mic night. 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 Eastern. So much to talk about this week, including, as Raymond tried to ask about earlier, Rey Mysterio's Hall of Fame announcement. We will be discussing that and our thoughts of Conan inducting him. As far as everything else coming up, I believe you've got a video to roll, Noah, of all of the upcoming watch-alongs that are going to be coming across the multiverse of media. And we have added a couple new ones to it. So make sure you pay attention and check out.
Considering this is less than 200 megabytes, James, let's go ahead and see what's in store across the Jet Vision Network, multiverse of media, and Casa 18 Studios, and my voice. Yeah, I'm not going to have a voice pretty soon.
If you survive WrestleMania weekend, then Impact is hitting you with Under Siege, followed by WWE
Backlash.
No, it's
What?
the other one.
Oh,
King,
yeah,
Queen of the
the
Ring.
weekend of Impact,
Yeah.
WWE, and
And
AEW. 3
AEW
straight
Double or
days.
Nothing. 3 shows, the 3 major companies, 3 consecutive days.
Jackpot, 777 on the slot machine. I win.
And then you might have noticed the stand and deliver time changed. Originally, Jeff had it promoted as 11 a.m., but I had to point out to them that WWE's advertising it starting at 10. So we had to push it to 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 Eastern start time. That way we could at least give a little 30-minute pre-show before stand and deliver went live.
That makes sense. Damn.
Nice.
Botch. Jeez.
Well,
But yeah,
well, there
and then Backlash, Money in the Bank, Under Siege, none of those have times set for them yet because I know Backlash, King Queen of the Ring, and
Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank are all taking place overseas
right.
in some way,
Yep.
shape, or form.
Yep.
Because Backlash is in Puerto Rico, and then we've got Saudi Arabia and London, England. So
Yeah.
we've got to wait for them to announce times for those so that we can format it to our time zones before we can actually announce times to the public.
Yeah, exactly. Because time is a bitch. Also, remember, James, now we're in March. We spring forward tonight. That means we lose an hour of sleep.
That happens tonight?
Oh,
Yes.
boy.
Good to know.
Great.
Damn it. I hate that time. But anyway, I love everything you got ahead, JJ, and it's always a pleasure. James, again, man, friend, always a pleasure. I know there's still a lot ahead for us, particularly AEW Spark being the next time that we will reconvene. I imagine it's going to be Monday or Tuesday night. But besides that, what do you want, Parker Up, and where can people find you?
Well, we're going to play this because I have my audio shared, and hopefully this thing won't become crappy in quality and it won't cut off. So we're going to try it, and we're going to hope for the best here. So mute your mics, everyone, as if it was actually playing. There we go.
It's out of my hands, but I'm still in control. It's out of my hands. You can never take away the power of my soul.
Is it coming in good? I can't tell.
It's out of my hands, but I'm still in control. It's out of my hands. You can never take away the power of my soul.
Scan the QR codes to see what's upcoming for FTW Productions and what's available on demand right now. Button Master Stable Wars entire playlist. AEW Revolution Go Home Week. Dynamite and Rampage watch parties. Mistress Audio dramatic readings featuring voice actors from Weymouth Youth Wrestling. Elimination Chamber retrospective. WrestleMania Retros coming to the Wrestling Fortune 44 Incorporated channel. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order Let's Play series. WrestleMania 19 Revenge Mode Let's Play series. All of A Simple Man's Brand Simply Predicting panels. Both episodes of The Don DeMarco Show. AEW Spark, WWE Aftershock, every show week by week. The entirety of the NASCAR Thunder 2004 Let's Play series. AEW Revolution watch-along coverage featuring Noah Foster and James Hebert. Wrestle Kingdom 17 coverage in conjunction with the Jeff Meacham Network. A Simple Take. WWE Simple Takes featuring Cassidy 18 Studios. Super Mario Bros. Z voice acting. Episode 3 coming soon. Breaking news. ATW View Impromptu. WYW Intro and Immortal Stream. Royal Rumble Match Marathon with retros of events following Marathon. Plugs have concluded. On to the video.
Yeah.
Nicely done, man. Again, I think it worked out pretty well. I can see why it was more than 200 megabytes from an IT standpoint, but I think that came out well, and you're constantly a busy fellow. But again, man, take some time out, take some rest, and be prepared to update that by the end of the month.
Real.
Yeah, right. For real.
Just remember,
God.
remember the same thing I always try to pound into Jeff's head. As busy as you are, make sure you take time out for yourself.
Yes.
Damn right.
I do.
Don't
I'm gonna be taking
devote
a
so
nap.
much time to your channel and everybody else's channels.
And everything
It's time
wrestling.
for you.
Yeah. There's a reason
Indeed.
why I don't cover Stardom, NJPW, Ring of Honor, and Impact on a weekly basis. I actually do have a family that I love and a PlayStation that I do game on once in a while. So, I mean, I'm not completely one-dimensional, and that's why I don't cover everything wrestling, but I look at all things wrestling. Again, shout out to the ATW family. But thank you, James, and thank you both kindly. And thank you to everybody that's continued to tune into this forum. Raymond, we do see your question here.
Open mic night.
We will talk more about that, though, on Open Mic Night, I assure you. I'll be sure to bring it up as a light topic. You know,
Yes.
mouthwater, to say the least. A taste of Open Mic Night shenanigans. But I digress. And again, thank you both so much. And thank everybody for tuning in along for the ride, whether for the whole thing or later on. If people want to know more about me, though, know this, for I am just a simple man and a lifelong fan of professional wrestling, damn it! But I digress. So find me on the Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at nfoster1916 for all things wrestling. And shout out, of course, to the entire ATW family on the Twitter, along with other social media platforms. DJW always asks me about the leaderboards. I'll say it here. I'll say it now. I'll say it to all of you. Leaderboards are available on my Twitter at nfoster1916. I always pin them as I update them routinely. I also try to put the leaderboards on my YouTube channel under the community tab. So please follow me on YouTube and stay tuned for updates regarding prediction leagues, prediction league scores, videos, and so much more outside of that. I think it's finally time to bring the crew back together too. Since AEW's inception, the last time we covered WrestleMania was WrestleMania 37, and it was a rant to be remembered. Whether or not it's the original crew or other members, stay tuned. But I think I might try to bring out the ATW view for WrestleMania coming soon. Details as well. And as far as the brainchild of my channel, Sidney Predicting, here's what's ahead for Sidney Predicting. We will have
Jesus.
Impact Sacrifice, Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, WrestleMania, NXT Stand Delivered, and Impact Rebellion. Times, of course, will be announced as they are known, and each one of these will be live. And, of course, the next time we bring you coverage and predictions in all things wrestling is Impact Wrestling, as before the madness of the following week. Before that, on Friday, March 24th, is Impact Wrestling's Sacrifice, where we already have Mickie James defend the Knockouts World Championship against Jordan Grace, and we have Time Machine taking on the trio of Josh Alexander, Rich Swann, Frankie Kazarian in a busted open match with Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer. And Santino Marella, the director of Authority, will pick an opponent for Trey Miguel to defend the X Division Championship against. Yet to be announced. And what I've been seeing at Wednesday Prime, there's more knockouts action here too. Hello, Killer Kelly. But I digress. And of course, after that, the madness truly begins at the end of the month as we head into April, because that, of course, marks the beginning of the week of WrestleMania. And boy, is that going to be a busy time for all of us. City predicting panels, predictions leagues, no DQ panels, female leagues, and so much more too. Coverage, and of course, post all that, a simple take with me and JJ regarding WrestleMania. Maybe James might be along for the ride. It may be live. We'll see what happens that Tuesday night. But as always,
7 streams in 5 days, people.
give or take.
7 streams in 5 days.
Give or
Watch
take.
alongs.
Yeah. Buckle
Yeah.
up. And that's the
WrestleMania.
minimum. Again,
WrestleMania, baby. Woo!
at least you're more excited than the Big Show, but I digress. But as always, I like to conclude, there are no winners, there are no losers, there are no bettors. There are just fans with opinions, with this passion we all share. At the end of the day, folks, support one another, respect each other, protect your mentality too, and whoever bullying on Riho, you wrong. And treasure your families, and just enjoy life and enjoy professional wrestling. It's as simple as that. With that being said, thank you again so much for tuning in to another Simple Take. Please like, subscribe, comment, and tell a friend. Hit the bell if this video goes live or on demand on any of these channels. Give it a thumbs up because that helps apparently with recognition on YouTube. And of course, tell a friend, let everyone be known here. Let's keep growing this YouTube community together. I assure you our creative passion is not laying up anytime soon. Whether or not I bring NJPW, Ring of Honor, and Impact in any capacity to my channel comes down to how far I go insane in the membrane. And for now, I'm trying to maintain a bit of sanity. Although I know I'm going to go insane during this show come up as well, because I can't wait to cover the Multiverse United. More details to come on that. That will also be an exhibition special that not only are we covering across different Multiverse media, but yes, I will be doing some sort of simply predicting quick picks on this show too. Exclusively for my Horseman League as far as predictions go, but more details to come. But again, thank you all so much for tuning in. And until later on tonight, for all the fun shenanigans, including Raymond's couple of questions, noted my friend, I leave you all with this to enjoy the rest of your day or evening or wherever it might be. Make a positive impact in life. And it's going to come eventually for all of us. So simply put, have a good night. And thank you for tuning in for We Are AEW, because this show proved it. Damn it. But I digress.